Joy is living by spiritual aesthetic flow. Chapter 1. Search for eternal vitality. Keep moving, keep a pure mind. This is the true meaning of life, to live for something recognized by ourselves as a mighty cause. To be a force of nature rather than a feverish little clod of grievances and ailments complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. I want to be totally used up when I die. For the harder I work doing what I love, the more I live. Life is no brief candle to me. It's a sort of splendid torch, its own justification, and I want to make it burn as much as I can before handing it on to future generations. George Bernard Shaw. I know nothing lasts because if I don't work hard to release my natural energy, I can go to depression within one day of self-betrayal. Tough as it sounds, the only way to happiness is to earn it through what you do. You can never stop. If you do, you end up like all them couch potatoes doing nothing intense in their lives, and they ain't happy regardless of what phony face they put on for the world. What is the most powerful force in the universe? Some people would say God or sex. I think the most powerful force you got is your spirit or divine seed given to you by whatever created you. What is it? It's your essence or purity at birth. What is the biggest regret of life? It is that I did not become the person I could have been, I did not release all the power inside of me, I did not do what I really wanted to do with my time. By 5 years old, if you're living in a family not always concerned with poverty, you will have had a chance to discover your soul or essence. I knew what my purity was at 5 years old. Then I went to school and got brainwashed by the world. Now my life is about staying close to my purity as a human being. All I ask of living is that it has no change on me. The happiest people are the ones who stay close to their spiritual purity by releasing most of their natural inspired, sexual and loving energy day after day. Spiritual aesthetic wealth is two things. How you manage to stay close to who you were born to be by nature. What was in your soul when you were born? Were you able to express that so far? How do you release your natural energy day after day with gusto for the process? Rise to meet your potential every day. I've seen people bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 20, then I see them at 45 and say to myself they lost a hold of their natural spirits. They betrayed themselves by going out into the world, working some job that didn't inspire them. Little by little, day by day, they lost a hold of that natural beauty and strength they once had. Be true to yourself every day. Release that natural energy every day. It is the only way you will get through life pure and unscathed. Earn your self-respect and well-being by releasing most of your natural energy every day. The ideas of the world are fine for you to learn how to survive and for entertainment, but you still have your own innate wisdom. That should be your main source of power. Live one day at a time. Try to maximize each day to blow a good load of energy, because that's what makes anyone feel good, blowing a bunch of natural inspired, loving, carnal and hedonistic energy every day. It's just day by day. The best you can do is to try to get a rush out of your life every day. That's what makes it worthwhile, what you create every day. I don't know what anybody else's idea of a rush is. For me it's exertion with some intensity. There's gotta be an element of challenge to it, then after I'm done I get the high of having expended myself. It's a mix of the endorphins, the freeing effect on the spirit, and the self-respect I earned by doing whatever it is that I do most days. After that, I try to connect with the few people and pets in my life, then sometimes pursue the altered state of consciousness through the use of recreational substances. That's as good as it gets. You have an individual reality that's all yours if you want it, but for most people it's much easier to watch the news, a few sitcoms, than the Tonight Show, and think that the Super Bowl is exciting stuff, when in reality it's just a big money grab trying to turn us into a bunch of spectators buying into all that crap. Ideas help me keep moving. 1. Who are the greatest thinkers? Albert Einstein, Theory of Relativity. Aristotle, Organon. Charles Darwin, The Origin of the Species. D.H. Lawrence, Lady Chatterley's lover, proponent of the sensual life. Henry David Thoreau, Civil Disobedience, Walden. James Joyce, Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, The Social Contract, Thomas Jefferson, Declaration of Independence, Sir Isaac Newton, Principles of Mathematics, Thomas Paine, Common Sense. John Dewey, Human Nature and Conduct. John Locke, Treatise on Civil Government. John Milton, Areopagitica, Paradise Lost. Leonardo da Vinci, The Original Renaissance Man. Mahatma Gandhi, student of Thoreau's civil disobedience who pioneered the concept of nonviolent protest to free his nation. Margaret Sanger, Women's Liberation, The Women Rebel. Martin Luther, The 95 Theses at Wittenberg. Niccolò Machiavelli, The Prince, About the Cutthroat Nature of Man. Nicolaus Copernicus, The Revolution of the Skies. Ovid, Metamorphoses, Roman senator banished to an obscure island. Plato, Symposium. Ralph Waldo Emerson, Self-Reliance. Socrates, Know Thyself. Died for his beliefs. Timothy Leary, 60s hippie intellectual, among others. Voltaire, leader of the Enlightenment. Human nature starts at self-centeredness. There are some saints and evil bastards in the bunch, but most of us are gray. Our morality and inclinations depend on how we're feeling in the moment. If we're feeling good, we're kind and nice. If we're feeling bad, we get satisfaction out of dumping our frustrations onto others to make them feel bad. I know how horrible the world is. If you don't believe me, put any 10 people together like they do on all them TV reality shows and see how long it takes before they're scheming and gossiping against each other. How can we possibly talk about peace and love for the world when most families don't even get along with each other among themselves? Natural vitality and youthful spark is what matters. Culture your natural inspired power, then hold onto it for life. People don't change. They are who they are, the way they're born, and that's it. Just because society has some ritual about coming of age and becoming one of its soldiers doesn't mean it's inherently true to who you are as an individual. You still have the same soul as the kid you were at 5 years old. We sacrifice who we really are purely as individuals to try to become successful and happy according to the standards the world has set up for us. The real you is what you felt as that kid a long time ago before the crap of the world hit. Listen to your intuition over logic, your soul over your brain. Honor all the gods and demons that live inside you. Live out the heaven and hell that is you. The art of living is a lifelong vigilance to doing the action in your soul. Culture that Eden that exists in your soul, try to make it come to pass in real life. Think of your soul as an insular Tahiti, a beautiful, exotic island in the vast expanse of the oceans, a safe harbor in the midst of everything that's happening around you, just like a safe harbor in the midst of the raging oceans. Excess in anything that doesn't inherently come from your soul is an attempt to fill the void with some kind of substantial feeling, but it never works because you have to go to the core of your life, know who you are in your deepest soul, then do active things to use up this energy in a positive way, either for yourself or for the world. The darkest thing most people face is the fear of being alone, lonely, and the possibility that there's no God or no supernatural life force out there. My ultimate purpose is to find the mystical, creative realm within myself, then live it out with as much transcendence, inspiration, and pleasure as I can, both alone and with like-minded kindred spirit soulmates, as a free being in the universe living by the natural harmony within. If you were to read the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible, you'd see that even the powerful King Solomon, with all his money, all his wisdom, all his achievements, all his pursuits of pleasure, didn't find enlightenment because he measured everything by the standards of the world, not the standard within himself, and didn't realize the only worth life has is the worth you give it. I thought about all I had done and how hard I had worked doing it, and realized that it didn't mean a thing. It was like chasing the wind, of no use at all. Ecclesiastes 2:11. If you hold onto your youthfully inspired spark for a lifetime, you win the game. The fundamental essence of happiness in the transcendent sense is to know your true identity and live to honor it. A well-fed body reveals an empty soul. Comfort creates spiritual complacency. Ideas help me keep moving too. A sense of fulfillment comes when you constantly strive to be the person you were born with the potential to be by releasing all that natural energy you feel inside of you all the time. Love did not solve the problem of my existential uncertainty in life. Who am I? Why am I here? What is life? Is there any meaning to it? Is there something beyond this in the mystical realm? People get detached from the purity or essence they were born as, usually by not discovering what it is and/or not expressing/exercising it constantly throughout their lives, every day because they have been handily brainwashed to follow life as presented by the system. This is what losing yourself or betraying yourself means, and the world is full of these people brainwashed by the system's ideology over their own personal ideologies that they were born with, imprinted on their souls. You can't buy self-respect or a sense of well-being. You're not born with it. Other people can't give it to you by either loving you or telling you how great you are. You either earn it for yourself day by day or you don't. Life is supposed to be an original, intense, inspired adventure. Everything fades over time except for your sense of who you are, who you want to be, and what you feel you must do by some invisible force within yourself called your soul, aka your soul/essence. You have to earn a living out in the world, but you don't have to sell your soul to it. Life should be a paradise in your mind, a quest to live out your vision of the Garden of Eden as much as you can. You either make a conscious decision to live like this and strive to honor it, or you live a considerably less salient life. I want to mean something to me. If you constantly purge your life energy, you will always feel fine. You can't own people. All material possessions can only take you so high in the aesthetic spiritual sense, which is pretty low level in the grand scheme of life. Then the rest is what you do to take you there, to that feeling of power, euphoria, and freedom. All you really own is the sensibility about yourself every morning when you wake up. By 40, your biography becomes your biology. Do you feel like you still got something going on that attracts the opposite sex in a basic, primal kinda way? It's a good simple test to measure your vitality or lack of it. You know intuitively whether you got it or not. Søren Kierkegaard said the feeling of possibility is what a great life comes down to, which is the constant sense of being inspired. If I were to wish for anything, I should not wish for wealth and power, but for the passionate sense of potential, for the eye which, ever young and ardent, sees the possible. Pleasure disappoints, possibility never. It is very dangerous to go into eternity with possibilities which one has oneself prevented from becoming realities. A possibility is a hint from God. One must follow it. Your pets don't set goals. They live for the joy of the moment. Why do my dogs like to run around in the fields? If you set a goal and reach it, what then? You feel empty again. You have no sense of who you really are in your essence as a human being. You're just setting plodding capitalist goals that originate from the standards out there, just like they taught you to in grade school. It's not like you're dancing to the journey of your life. And what happens if you don't reach your goals? You get depressed. The world is the land of broken dreams. Most people do not achieve their goals and dreams, then feel deficient for the rest of their lives because they're measuring their worth by standards set by the outside world as opposed to following their souls purely. I even know an old dude who still feels inferior because he never got a college degree. Anybody that knows anything knows that a college degree is just a cheap credential from the world system, no different than the stars they gave out in grade 1. You forget almost everything you learned in college in a few years. The true intellectuals are the free thinkers who discover the intuitive wisdom within themselves and analyze their experiences out in the world to develop their own understanding of it. The dominant ideology for mainstream America is a Christian conservative capitalist mix. It's contradictory because you can't be a Christian and a capitalist at the same time. It's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than it is for a camel to go through the eye of a needle, even though millions simultaneously live by these two mutually exclusive ideologies. It's called hypocrisy. Implicit with this is the paternalistic, father figure image, people who know what's best for us better than we know ourselves. Our current father figures are God, religious leaders, business leaders, politicians, police officers, teachers, benevolent-looking older people on TV talk show hosts, TV news anchors and pitch people in commercials. A lot of people want to do something that inspires them rather than work some dull job according to the traditional work ethic. Monogamy, aka marriage to one person, doesn't work for a lot of people. Some people are hedonistic, polyamorous, gay, bisexual, or asexual. A lot of people don't see raising kids as the path to happiness. The traditional white picket fence ain't in the cards and doesn't work out for millions of people, but it's held up as the key to happiness in life. Many free people want to have fun with consenting adults doing whatever they want in the moment. Many people want to catch a buzz using substances that the government deems illegal. People want to be free to do what they want without being talked down to by relics left over from the McCarthy era, when Senator McCarthy thought he was righteous in conducting witch hunts to look for commies and anybody who disagreed was a traitor. The people who control the wealth, power, and the mass media act as the supreme moral authority who got the answers on the right way to live, and that's it. My moral authority is that I can do anything I want alone or with adults who want to do it with me. What other people do in private is none of my business. My rights stop where other people's rights start. Beyond that, I'm free to live my life my way. It's like the 1999 movie Pleasantville. Underneath the superficial facade of a picture-perfect life, there was all kinds of prejudice against gays, blacks, beatniks, swingers, and anybody who didn't fit into this one-dimensional paradigm of life. All the psychobabble in the world about changing is a big pile of crap. Once somebody starts talking about helping somebody change like many psychobablists do, I know they're not enlightened, because the human is not a malleable piece of clay who can change their inherent nature by following generic one-liner advice some so-called system-sanctioned expert gives them. You can teach an animal all the stupid pet tricks you want, but they're just transient behavior modifications that go away if not practiced after a few days, because you can't change an animal's true nature. They are what they are. The highest they can go is to live by their true natures without interference from exploitative humans. The greatest life anyone can live is to make an effort to release all their inherent natural energy every day. Friedrich Nietzsche said, "Become what you are," which is as simple as it gets, especially in a world where just about everybody and every organization is trying to manipulate you to be the way they want you to be to serve their agenda, not yours. Henry David Thoreau once said that most men live lives of quiet desperation. Franz Kafka, in Metamorphoses, wrote about how the industrial age has divorced man from his true nature by putting him to work on a schedule in factories and office buildings, which goes against the more natural way a person could live, closer to the land, closer to his own nature. Figure out your life enough to realize that the only truly happy, enlightened people are those who know how to stay inspired day after day and set out a systematic formula to achieve this end for themselves. The distinction between being purely inspired for its own sake and doing something to achieve a concrete objective in the capitalist world is to be absorbed in it for the joy you feel while you're doing it, and afterwards, it gives you your sense of strength and identity, which is the core of happiness, to have a strong sense of identity away from the crap of the world. This is the greatest fountain of youth and one of the few true elixirs of life I know. This is what makes you feel good, the process of releasing this spiritual primal energy from the essence that is you. If I release a good dose of it on any given day, which I consciously strive to do every day, it's like I blew my load of being me, my pure self, for the day, which to me means I've honored myself the way my God made me. I've done the duty that He, the Divine Master, put me on earth to do for that day. I'm in harmony with my nature for the moment. If I don't release this energy, it sits inside of me unused, leading to feelings of loss of self, misery, and depression if left unchecked over time. Over 2,500 years ago, Plato described the true philosopher as a spectator of all time and all existence, a person of gentle and noble nature who desires all truth, seeks to be like God as far as that is possible for man. Human enlightenment never changes, it's always the desire for the transcendent in life, to go beyond convention to see what's there for yourself. A life of free spiritism may mean stepping out of your comfort zone and facing real danger, like running out of money to have no safety net, but I believe in throwing caution to the wind sometimes to live out what you believe in, come hell or high water. The only real standard is the standard within and the extent to which you honor it all the time till death do you part. If you can get close to reaching it, it's kinda like a youthful feeling of inspired madness, running with the wind, spirits soaring on high, being who you really are, wild, untamed, natural, pure, and free, a version of your strongest possible self, alive in the flesh, vital and happy, influenced by nothing in the world except for what you feel in your soul. It conjures up an image of a manic, wild-eyed Van Gogh painting Starry Night, looking up at the skies, struck by the beauty of it all, trying to transcend his mundane human limits somehow, some hippie intellectual doing deep hallucinogenics trying to get higher feelings and greater ideas, somebody dancing around freely to their favorite song full blast with nobody else around to make them feel self-conscious, a writer struck by a moment of profound inspiration, writing madly, trying to get it all out of himself, some hedonist seeking out rushes of intense carnal euphoric bliss through the pursuit of sensual pleasures, or some super jock running as fast as he can, constantly trying to outdo himself. It's all about the release of intense inspired sensual energy any way you can all the time in order to keep running with life, feeling good, rejuvenating yourself. The Buddhists and the New Agers can meditate all they want, but if they just sit in a room or temple somewhere and don't release that natural energy that lives inside of them, they're wasting their lives, just like all those capitalists chasing illusions of business and career success that won't elevate their states of consciousness if and when they get there. Success out in the world is good, but it's still not the wisdom of following your true, inherent standard. Beyond a basic house with the basic material comforts and a basic vehicle, everything else in your life is in your head, even the state of your relationships with people. To be alone, to be poor in needs, to be ignored, to be an outsider who is at home everywhere, and to walk greatly and by oneself, toward the conquest of the world. His estate has no limits, his empire no laws. No work bends him towards the ground, for the bounty and beauty of the earth are already his. Isabel Eberhardt, The Oblivion Seekers. The meaning of soul is creativity and mysticism. Otto Rank. Aristotle, in Nicomachean Ethics, identified 4 factors of happiness. Pleasure, our base instincts. Honor, self-respect, dignity. Wealth as a means to an end to free you from trivial matters, not as an end in itself. A life of contemplation and reason, the intellectual pursuit of truth, the highest order. He ended his discussion of happiness with the ideal of the great souled man. To be good, virtuous, intense for what he believes in, self-sufficient, cares more for reality than appearance and speaks the truth. He is not servile in the presence of the great or wealthy, nor condescending towards people of middle station. He does not bear malice, nor is he apt to speak ill of his enemies. His happiness is not dependent on the company of others. He takes pleasure in privacy, unlike the man of no virtue who fears solitude. Ideas help me keep moving. 3. In his essay Self-Reliance, Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Do not seek yourself outside yourself, every man his own voice, manner, eloquence, and his own sort of imagination and action. Let him scorn to imitate any being, let him scorn to be a secondary man, whoso would be a man must be a nonconformist. Nothing is at last sacred but the integrity of your own mind. Imitation is suicide." He also said, "Congratulate yourselves if you have done something strange and extravagant and broken the monotony of a decorous age." In the back of some of his versions of Walden, you'll see one of Thoreau's essays called On the Need to be Civilly Disobedient, which tells you to live by what you believe in, because quite often the political and religious forces around you set up pragmatic rules created by a bunch of selfish men out to serve themselves, not the greater good. So the bottom line is that you're a free being in the universe, your only standard is what you feel in your soul. Einstein, in The World as I See It, cites his ideals as truth, goodness, and beauty as opposed to material things or status. Bertrand Russell said, "It is preoccupation with possession, more than anything else, that prevents people from living nobly and freely." Michelangelo was hooked on sculpting stone as a kid even though his father tried to get him out of it because working with your hands was considered a lowly profession. After all his accomplishments and his appointment as the architect of St. Peter's Cathedral, the only thing that ever gave him any real satisfaction was his one true passion in life, sculpting stone, which he did every day until his death at 89. Even with all his fame and wealth, he was still happiest sculpting, living on a simple stonecutter's diet, bread and wine. That's what kept him vital for 89 years on the planet, nothing else. Do you want to be a power in the world? Then be yourself. Be true to the highest within your soul and then allow yourself to be governed by no customs or conventionalities or arbitrary man-made rules that are not founded on principle. Ralph Waldo Emerson, 1803–1882. We do not live out who we really are the way we were born to be. We become fakes, caricatures, stereotypes, empty shells, lost souls, images of pop culture coolness, capitalist success, professional people, VIPs, holy rollers, sports fans, Trekkies, etc., but through it all, it's not the real you in your soul. Life is really very simple. Those who win are the ones who get to the end with this vision intact. They honored it by living it. They didn't let the outside world seduce, manipulate, brainwash, or destroy them. The hunger of life is to discover who you really are. Where is the truth? It's in your soul. We have this concept of fine living or the luxury lifestyle marketed at us as a qualitative leap in the enjoyment of life over basic comfort, but it's not true, at least not for me, because I feel the exact same every day when I wake up and my surroundings have nothing to do with it as long as I slept in a basic bed with a roof over my head as opposed to being out on the street. People constantly upgrade their houses, putting in saunas, hot tubs, theater rooms, popcorn machines, etc., but the truth is that all this stuff doesn't come close to an individual living to burn his natural energy, getting those highs that only people who live like this understand. This is the only way to feel anywhere from good to great almost all the time. What is the ability to watch a music video on your cell phone gonna do to enhance your life? It's not only part of the contribution to the obesity crisis, but it also sucks out whatever could be original, inspired and vital within an individual to produce a bunch of brainwashed clones trying to be cool based on some images they saw on some screen somewhere. They have brainwashed us with the idea that the more gadgets and luxurious stuff we own over and above what we need for the basics of a comfortable life, the happier we'll be. But what really happens is that we get a bunch of soft, puffy, vain, frivolous, complacent, brainwashed people, which is counterintuitive to getting true joy out of life, which is to manifest your pure, naked, natural self. George Orwell realized that most of us would be willing participants to the grand brainwashing machine. We would buy into it hand and foot, then look to it to fill up this paternalistic need we have that some benevolent big brother is always watching over us, which is a good delusion to keep the masses in check, but doesn't work if you're a nonconformist, because they give your ass lots of trouble one way or another until they've nullified you from this great, grand, smoothly rolling establishment machine of happy conformist consumers. In Modern Man in Search of a Soul, Carl Jung's highest virtue was to live as an artist of life. Simone Weil in La Connaissance surnaturelle said the goal of life is to construct an architecture of the soul. Ideas help me keep moving for. Follow the beat of your own drum. It's better for you. My identity is simple. I'm a bohemian who wants to ride my life, feel good and have as many inspired euphoric experiences as I can. I want to earn my living doing what naturally inspires me and makes me feel good, and beyond that, I want to be free to own my life to do with as I please. I have very few material needs, nor do I care what people say to me or about me, either good or bad. I don't care about the trophies and accolades of the world. I don't care about fame or status within the community. My life is within me, honoring who I am, staying true to my soul. All my actions start there. I don't follow any other agenda, deity, or lifestyle brand from the world. Most people don't know they have a built-in, inherent standard they were born with of how they should live their lives. They were handily brainwashed at a young age to follow the system's way of life without ever questioning it and examining themselves to see who they really are away from all that stuff. They either live by the standards of the world, which I did up until the age of 28, the basic standards of success, capitalism, pop culture entertainment, God, patriotism, and the traditional work ethic, or they're aimless floaters plugged into pop culture entertainment and all that other crap out there. You have to honor yourself in order to feel good. It's not about what you achieve out in the world. Feeling good about your life is simply self-respect achieved by being true to yourself. Being true to yourself means following your true nature by releasing that natural energy you feel inside. I am trying to be the person I want to be by releasing good amounts of energy to achieve that end. This is the best you can ever do. When you live like this, you're tapped into the natural pulse of your life. As long as you keep running with this release of your inherent energy, you'll be feeling pretty good almost all the time simply by riding your life the way you feel it. Watch TV with a critical eye some night. It's all about sales. All the programs are paid for by advertising. They're not just trying to sell you stuff. They're trying to take your mind over so that you can become their eternal consumer. What do you think movies, professional sports, and pop culture entertainment are? They're an invasion of the pure you. They take away from the original, inspired soul you could have, should have been. Everything in capitalist society is based on selling more stuff. They know they can't sell it on its own merit because consumer goods follow the law of diminishing marginal returns, which means that after you have 2 or 3 shirts, cars, radios, etc., having more of these things don't help you much in terms of making your life better or easier, so the advertisers have cleverly devised a system of marketing products as image such that if you buy product A cool sports car, a cool pair of brand name running shoes, cool clothes, etc., you will automatically belong to the cool, trendy in crowd of mainstream, pop culture society, which will get you what you want, to be a popular person in the popular group with lots of friends. And the thing they make you think is that if you buy multiple quantities of product A, your happiness will multiply exponentially, but enlightened people know this isn't true. Because you are now a popular person according to advertising ideology, the presumption is that you'll be able to find a good mate and have a loving, happy family, and thirdly, you'll be a star, conspicuously better than everyone else, superior to them, because as the owner of all these consumer goods, you are a winner and a very happy person according to these advertisers who have brainwashed you. People who live for image are elitist in the sense that they think they're better than others by trying to advertise the fact that they're trendy. On top of that, they're greedy, selfish, and they have sacrificed their own originality to live according to someone else's definition of what is cool, inspired, and happiness. Ultimately, it doesn't work. Despite how glittery and cool you think you are now, everybody's charms fade by the time they're 40, and by virtue of your age, you're no longer a part of the cool, young generation of society. That's the unwritten rule. You have the ability to be a part of the cool, young in crowd until 40, then after that, if you still want a superior image, you have to start acting like an upper-class snob, because that's all you got left if you haven't consciously been protecting your youthful spark and vitality through inspired, original living up until now. The advertisers market the idea of belonging to the hip, cool, popular crowd to people under 40, then after that, they're marketing the image of being upper-class, elitist, distinguished, sophisticated, and exclusive at you, separating yourself from the generic, common riffraff out there, because that's all you have left by then: your money, most likely not your health, your looks, youthful spark, inspired sensibility, or vitality, since you've been a working stiff and haven't lived by the free spirit ideology. Besides all that, you're a loner in your head. You're an individual who must answer to yourself in order to feel some truly good feelings and solid stability in your life, and on top of that, nobody out there really cares about you and your so-called cool image. Nobody except for the phony, trendy in-crowders and the people who wanna be these phony, trendy in-crowders cares about who's lining up to get into the trendiest nightclub in town. The faces will change, but the absolute certainty is that there will always be a bunch of people playing this game because they're looking for some kind of social approval to make up for their otherwise empty lives, but they don't realize they're not among true friends because everyone in that crowd is trying to appear as a self-centered star to everyone else. So this is what excessive capitalism has spawned, a bunch of people with more stuff than they'll ever need trying to impress everybody else. With how cool, successful and happy they are. You don't know what other people are thinking of. They're not thinking about you 10% of what you think they are. They're thinking about themselves, how cool and trendy they look, or what they have to do to make money and otherwise be happy. When you live for image, you're basing your self-worth on how trendy you look and what others think of you. As such, you're at their mercy. What if they don't notice you anymore or put you down? What about all those days when you don't feel like the cock of the walk? indiemedia.org. Media.org, anti-advertising. mediagk.net. Ideas help me keep moving. 5. You can be friends with people and use what's out there to help and entertain you, but there is a line between you and the world, and it's up to you as to how much you want to let it fill you up. I don't know what low self-esteem or wounded, inner child, past baggage is. I trash it because I don't believe it exists except as an artifact of overzealous mental health experts' minds. It's a great tool to make money, convince people that their problem is something buried in their past, then spend endless sessions psychoanalyzing them at $100+ per hour. How different am I from Tarzan of the jungle or some primitive native living 10,000 years ago? How much of me is cultural indoctrination? What's all this crap they're teaching me called liberal arts, acting like it's this deep, profound, formal knowledge and wisdom, while I feel like laughing at it all, telling them they're all a bunch of deluded, stupid people by virtue of buying into this stuff, pretending they're wise and enlightened when they're really just timid souls, not strong enough to see past it all to trust themselves as the instruments of their own destiny. I stuck with the college scene for a while like any young, naive, scared kid unsure of themselves. After all, it is the traditional path to the American dream, everybody telling you to stay in school, get a good education, but where does that really lead to? In over 90% of all cases, it leads to a dull, uninspiring job, or as they call it, a career. What about doing your own thing, having the guts to feel you can earn a living through your own efforts in what you want to do and believe in, but they don't tell you about that option in school? I eventually realized that it's just me with this inner conviction and personal standard of how I should live my life. My life moves forward, not backward. The past means nothing to me. I'm all about action, expending myself for the day, then thanking my lucky stars that I have this vitality, inspiration, and joy to do those things that I do. It's really just you alone as you are right now in your essence as a human being, with an inner knowing, an inner standard and an inner sense of destiny of what you must do day by day in order to feel proud of yourself when you look at the mug in the mirror. If you don't constantly release natural inspired energy from the soul, you start to lose yourself, which is the cause of almost all the depression in the world, except for traumatic events, which often cause you to sit around and mope such that you're not releasing your natural energy, so you will get depressed in a matter of a week or two of inactivity. The Buddhists and others claim you get fulfillment by sitting in one place, being peaceful and contemplating life, which I've done as a naive young guy looking for enlightenment, but it's not enough. People were created to be active, not to sit around contemplating their navels or watching TV all the time. We all have a natural store of potential energy in us every morning when we wake up. I know that I must release it in order to feel good to great about my life right now in the transcendent sense. My life is simple. Every day I must answer to my own personal standard of releasing a certain amount of energy in those activities that I deem are important and worthy to me. When I release this energy, I feel good to great. If I don't release it, it sits inside of me unused and over time leads to loss of self, which a guy like me never allows to happen because of my personal standard of self-respect. But most people of the world lose a connection to their true essences as human beings, either consciously or unconsciously without realizing it. Every time you compromise your soul or sell it, it resonates somewhere deep within your being. Unused energy and the angst builds up from dishonoring yourself by selling your soul for either money, status, power, or popularity. The more there is of each of them inside of you, the more messed up you are. These pollutants manifest themselves by confusing your soul, making it tired, generic, mundane and uninspired. They sap your health. People's true selves are written all over them. The things you might own or your perceived status out in the community have no bearing on your real self, which is that essence in that blob of flesh. Nobody can give you that inspired sense of vitality that enlightened, powerful people have but you. This bland, empty, internal feeling that comes from selling your soul and not using up your store of natural energy has been a great money maker for those phony industries called self-help, psychobabble, New Ageism and even religion, who come in claiming your problem is something other than the fact that you are not constantly purging your natural essence as a human being all the time. They try to sell you some phony, psycho-bamboozle knowledge that never works because human existence is basic for enlightened people. Continue to run with all your gusto, joy, and might, releasing all that energy that lives inside of you, and after you release a certain amount for the day, sit back and relish in the sensual, loving, and hedonistic parts of life. You might connect with a soulmate, have children, and some kindred spirit friends along the way, and for the activist-minded, you might reach out and touch your community in a worthwhile way, but the bulk of life is lived alone in one's head, and until you can look at the mug in the mirror and feel you're doing the right things with your life according to what you feel in your soul, there will always be a gnawing sense of emptiness within you. Watch a dog or a cat sometimes. When they release their natural energy, they feel good. When they don't, such as if you keep them cooped up in the house all the time, they feel bad. Relationships with people are simple. Be kind and friendly. If you can't because you hate someone or can't stand them for one reason or another, stay away from those people. If somebody treats you badly or you don't like them, which is more common than we let on, stay away, even if it is somebody you're related to by blood. My vision quest, I found the divine spark in me. I am a good person following the course in life that I feel I should by the natural forces in my soul in order to do something worthy with it for me and the world. This was revealed to me by a force at about the age of 23 when I went on a vision quest. A buddy gave me some mushrooms to eat, and in a little while, this hidden force came flooding out. Some people call it the soul/essence. Some call it the gods within, and still others think it's part of the collective unconscious, a part of us as the human race locked up somewhere in our genetic seed that houses some primordial memory of the divine force that created us. I saw myself for who I really was. Some force within me came flooding out telling me that I was a good person doing the right thing with my life, on the right track in using up my God-given energy to do something that will be a positive force in the world and benefit humanity somehow. I didn't force it. This feeling and these thoughts just spilled out when I took enough recreational substances to break the barrier between the conscious and the subconscious mind. This led me to conclude that my inner base, my essence as a human being, my soul is good. Back then I was a college kid interested in exploring my life. Sensual aesthetic sensations are good for a season, generally the season of youth, but when you pack on a few years of life experience, you gradually come to the realization that a life of maximizing your sensations without a backbone of moral fiber or personal accountability to what you feel inside becomes rather meaningless. The pursuit of intense sensual sensations was the great force of my youth. I wanted to get the full breadth of the human experience in all things, ranging from intense inspired physical exertion to feeling all facets of the sex and drugs hedonistic ideology. My days are spent expunging my physical, inspired, loving and hedonistic energy because it's my essence as a human being. In order to honor myself, I can never stop being who I am. We all have a good, wholesome, positive essence we were born with. The happy, noble people will eventually get over the brainwash of the world to realize the only thing that matters is to follow this essence. This essence is you. You can't change it. It's your blueprint. It's up to you to choose how brightly or dimly it burns. There are a lot of evil and negative people out there who have not manifested their own essences and don't understand why they are so miserable, so they will take out this anger by trying to dim this light in other people. There is no rhyme or reason to it. Sad, bad people want to see others sad too in order to bring themselves up a notch. I don't think most people start out to bad or evil, but they lose their way. The rat race to make money and achieve status out in the community turn a lot of people into a bunch of backstabbing cheats and rip-off artists. You have to rise above it all and stay true to who you really are if you want your own dignity within yourself. Choose to keep your light strong and allow it to burn brightly. Use that power to become the person you were meant to be and pass it on to others. Choose to be a positive force for you and the world. Manifest your strength and creativity to be a happy, inspired, loving being. Be true to yourself. Take comfort in knowing that you're doing the right thing with your life. You can't live in a vacuum of hedonism and self-centered inspiration forever without feeling some sort of emptiness. The process of enlightenment is to come to the realization that you want to matter somehow, to feel that your life has some meaning beyond you, that you have something tangible to offer that can help people live better lives. You want to feel that the essence and energy that is you is used up to some extent to do something productive, worthy, and useful for the world, even if it is for the selfish motive of satisfying yourself that you're doing something worthy to feel more whole. Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison, Galileo, and many other great originals throughout history weren't particularly benevolent souls. They just knew what they felt and had to live by it to expunge all that energy they felt inside. A side benefit was the great things they did for humanity, but aside from that, they were doing these things because they felt they had to from a force within themselves. Great visionary minds feel that their lives have a divinely inspired purpose, that they're doing something from within that goes beyond themselves because it's their calling from a great force beyond themselves that gave them the blueprint to do whatever it is they do before they were even born. All people of destiny think like this. Beyond this, there's the accountability factor. Anybody who's wise and enlightened reaches a point where they see all the sadness, misery, inequity, and inequality in the world. To see all this and to continue on living in capitalist bliss is morally wrong. There are no two ways about it. To live in frivolous excess while there is so much need in the world is, on a gut intuitive level, wrong. There is one world of silly TV shows and glossy TV commercials where everybody is acting easy breezy, cool, trendy, and frivolous, seemingly oblivious to all the pain, suffering and injustice in the world, while at the same time, there are homeless, sick, hungry people everywhere. You can't serve two masters. You can't be a frivolous, pop culture capitalist clone on the one hand and claim to consciously be a good person who loves the world and helps out in the compassionate sense at the same time. The two don't mix. This is the big hypocrisy in our society. We think we're good people, but we're not by virtue of all the crap we own and what we spend our leisure time on. We're self-centered hedonists, but we think we're nice, kind, compassionate people. How can anybody with a true conscience engage in meaningless, frivolous ventures when they're perfectly aware of all the people out there who could use some kind of help right now? I take what I need, I try to respect everything and help out in my own way wherever I can. People do inane, frivolous things that the system defines for them as pleasurable rather than looking into themselves to actually do something natural, original, euphoric, transcendent, and inspired with their lives. The world needs another pop singer like it needs a hole in the head. I thought that it was supposed to be negative, for anyone to aspire to be an idol. In fact, it's one of the 10 commandments, thou shalt not worship false gods, idols. It implies elitism and vanity, based on what? Some frivolous gimmick. It's not even vanity based on something substantial. I can see if you discover a cure for a disease or create a new technological innovation, but vanity based on prancing around lip-syncing a song, trying to act sultry and cool is a great metaphor for why our Western, capitalist societies are going down the tubes. If you want transcendence, ecstasy, and happiness, create it yourself by doing something inspired, original, intense and worthy from within. To me, there are two necessary constituents of enlightenment. 1. the sense and moral conviction that you're a good person doing something worthy with your life. 2. A constant inspired release or expression of the energy that lives in your soul to match your personal standard of who you are and how you should live. You need these two ingredients in order to honestly like what you see when you look at the mug in the mirror. Do you feel that you're doing something that makes the best use of your God-given talents to both earn a living and help others? Feelin' lonely? Get over it. Most of us want a perfect love with one or more people that lasts a lifetime, but regardless of whether you get it or not, you as an individual are always there, stuck in your head alone. Loneliness is as much cultural indoctrination as it is a natural inherent part of our nature. Cultural indoctrination makes it seem much worse than it actually is because it is the human condition to be alone, stuck in your head. If you accept that this is the reality of your life and get on with trying to live a great one, you'll be a lot better off than all the lonely hearts, both married and single, neurotic about not being loved or connected enough. Society has conditioned us to feel empty if we don't feel as though we're connected to another person, a group, an organization, etc. This fear of being alone is so bad that it's a deep neurosis in millions of people, especially women. They feel really bad if they're alone with no one around to feel connected to and often fall to pieces, but to me, it's all typical human weakness and foolishness. You're always stuck with you alone. That's the existential human condition. When you connect to your own identity and live by it, you have stability and peace within. You're not neurotic about anything. You accept your life and the human condition in general. If you can feel comfortable in your own skin and live by a personal standard that always keeps you active, inspired, entertained and stimulated, you win the game of life. It's your unique right of time and you should do exactly as you feel within your soul rather than playing some societal image game or trying to conform to society's ideals of success, coolness, and happiness. These are all delusions created by society to make you constantly feel neurotic that you're never quite rich enough, attractive enough, popular enough, or have enough status to match some illusory in-crowd standard out there. So the game of capitalism is to get you to destroy yourself trying to reach society's version of success, happiness and coolness in order to make you a quiet, pacified, easily managed eternal consumer. The truth is that nobody really gives a damn about how cool or successful you are unless they're either a pop culture flake who thinks there's a mythical in-crowd out there that they want to be part of or thinks they can get something out of you. In general, they're too busy living in their own delusion worrying about their images rather than thinking about how cool and happening you are, while enlightened, free people see past all the bull and live by what they feel in their souls. I wake up every morning alone in my head just like you. It's like this every morning. It never changes. There's nothing I can do to change that fact of life even when I have one or more lovers, kindred spirits, relatives, friends, and soulmates around me. For me, I know right away that I have no choice in what I must do if I'm to honor myself for the individual human being I want to be, which is to go off right away and release some of that natural inspired energy my God endowed me with. This is what I do every single day of my life in order to reach that certain standard of expenditure and expression that makes me feel really good to great about my life on any given day. This process never ends. You never reach a high state of consciousness, have a great feeling, then stay there for life. You have to keep recreating it by attempting to purge your energy to reach your limits, or as some people call it, to free yourself from the generic mundanity of the human condition in order to metaphorically fly for a while. For everyone who's not enlightened, regardless of whether they feel loved or not, if they don't understand that this is the only formula for well-being, happiness and transcendence, and don't live to honor themselves by constantly intensely releasing natural, potential, inspired, hedonistic, sensual and loving energy, they will be generic human beings. They will not have stellar feelings about themselves or within themselves, regardless of how loved they think they are, whatever material possessions they have, or whatever praises the world sings at them, because it's really all about the journey in your head, which is the mission control that propels you to action, which should be the driving force of your life, some kind of high energy action to make you feel like you're taking your life for a great ride today. What we got is a bunch of people going to school, taking courses that are not really intrinsically interesting to them, working jobs or running businesses they don't really like that don't tap into their store of natural inspired energy. The net result is a bunch of mundane, generic people running around each living in pop culture, capitalist fantasies of their own creation with their store of natural energy stuck inside of them unused, lurking in there like a spiritual cancer while they continue to be battered and polluted by the capitalist pop culture media agenda when they watch TV, read magazines, listen to the radio, etc. Then they wonder why they feel empty and have what the system calls low self-esteem. The TV talk shows perpetuate this state of affairs by using all kinds of psychobabble but never clearly understanding why, despite all of our technological advancements, we live in such a lost society with empty souls running around brainwashed by the system, not realizing they are detached from their true natures as individual human beings. Most of us are brainwashed to have a neurotic need to be liked by others so much that we constantly seek approval as a measure of self-worth. Then when we don't get it, we go to pieces. You're giving others control over you. When you cease to be concerned about what others think of you and concern yourself with living a great life according to your own standards, other people can't manipulate you or make you feel guilty for not meeting their standard anymore. The other big one in relationships with people is the capitalist philosophy of trying to control others in the name of leadership, elitism, arrogance, power, money, and status. You never really control anyone else anyway, because as soon as you're gone like the boss of a company, everybody goes back to playing their own game. So why waste time trying to either fill other people's minds up with thoughts of how fabulous you are or trying to control them outright? Focus on living a great life for yourself. Everything from the liberal arts academic realms as opposed to the hard sciences, the pop culture entertainment industry, the mainstream media, religion, and New Ageism are all artificial constructs used to somehow control you or turn you into a good, pacified consumer who spends his or her money on these things thinking that they are there for the common good, which is your good, when they're really there for their own good, whilst trying to manipulate you into thinking they're there for your good. I'm not suggesting there's an organized conspiracy, just a loose alliance of like-minded forces who want to control the people to either sell them stuff or keep them stupid, brainwashed and pacified on the stuff they call pop culture entertainment, New Ageism, liberal arts knowledge, religion, etc. There is an intuitive wisdom within you. There is also knowledge and wisdom out there from mainstream forces and from other, alternative forces. I won't put down mainstream knowledge and wisdom with one broad stroke of a brush, just say be wary about everything. Chapter 2. Love and Life. Consumer products can't fill an empty soul. Does being a sports fan or pop culture fan give you the kind of fulfillment you crave? Why does the music marketing machine elevate a few musicians to celebrity star status for the masses to consume while many great musicians never get mainstream airtime? Why should I pay extra money to buy a piece of clothing that has a brand name on it? Why should I care about that fake world called fashion? Why should I watch any TV show, read any book, or listen to anything that is called entertainment in order to fill my mind up with other people's frivolous ideas at the expense of following what I feel inside of me as an individual? The marketing hype of a capitalist system creates many tribes or pseudo-communities that they want lonely, empty people to buy into so that they can feel like they're connected to this phony group for a minute or two, but it never works because you have to be connected to the free spirit within yourself before you ever feel any real fulfillment in life. The true test of life as far as I'm concerned is how much do you live by your own thoughts as an individual versus how much do you follow what's going on around you. I believe that in this modern age, we all have the option to exercise our free individuality, to listen to the voice within ourselves that tells us who we should be and what we should do, but at the same time, based on my experiences and observations, I realize most people don't for several reasons, among them the following. 1. It's easier to go along with the societal structure and peer pressure and do what everybody else does. 2. It's more comfortable and not tough or challenging to go with the traditional work ethic plan. Get some education, get a job, pay your bills, eat good food, watch TV, and buy cutesy stuff at the mall. 3. It seems like more fun for weak people to follow the manufactured world of pop culture glamour rather than following themselves. 4. the practical realities of life mean you have to earn money to pay your bills. After a while, it tires you out. The inspiration, strength, and idealism of youth goes as you revert to simply paying bills and being a consumer spectator while your free spirit shrivels up. 5. Many people aren't strong individuals who feel they have to live their lives their way by some force within themselves, or they don't even see themselves as individuals. They don't particularly care about discovering their lives as long as they earn a decent living and get some creature comforts. Look around. How do you, your friends, family and acquaintances live? What I mostly see is alcohol, recreational drugs, prescription drugs, pop culture entertainment, meaningless gossip, frivolous consumer goods and junk food. And then we wonder why we live in a lost society of empty people pretending they're cool, advanced, and got it going on. We're pretty well a bunch of clones divided into anywhere from 32 to 64 demographic groups depending on which marketing firm you ask, even though nobody admits to it. I got sick and saw the end of my life. I saw that my Creator gave me all the wisdom I would ever need inside of me. I don't need the social science bullshit from the world. I got my first big revelations about my life when I got so sick that I felt I was at death's door. While I lay there, I realized that there was only one thing that really mattered in life to me: be proud of who I am through what I do and never stop. Do it every day. Answer to the inner standard God endowed me with. It's all there inside of me if I listen to myself and shut out all the noise from the world. Live to be proud of myself for me through what I do, not because I might have some ulterior motive out in the world to try to be a big shot or impress other people with how cool, rich and advanced I must be. The only way to do this is to always release the natural energy in my free spirit, answering to the inner standard I feel within myself of the person I was born to be. I had an image of standing on a cloud naked in front of my Creator God. He wants to be proud that I became who He created me to be, that I fully manifested the genetic seed He endowed me with at conception. That's it. We all intuitively know when we are doing something honorable or less than honorable. You just have to follow what you feel. A lot of people feel lonely and empty. I can't, because I'm always connected to what's inside of me that created me. All I have to do is follow who I really am every day while not getting sucked into buying the lies and bull from the world. I realized I should live and let live, be kind to people in need and people who ask me for help, but other than that, don't try to interfere or manipulate people ever, even when I don't agree with them on a minor point. As long as they don't try to mess with me, don't impose my will on others. Everybody lives in their own fantasies in their own minds just like I do. I shouldn't be a busybody poking my nose into other people's business. There's no sense fighting or arguing with people about their beliefs or anything for that matter. They would just resent me for it. I'm a rock with my own code. I don't listen too much to what other people say because most of them are full of self-serving crap next to the wisdom in my soul I was born with, given to me by my Creator God. What I don't know in matters of understanding my ride of the human condition, I can figure out on my own through introspection, experience, and analysis, so that renders the entire psychobabble, self-help, social science, New Age, philosophy, religious industries null and void to me. The world has all this fake knowledge it created, and we're supposed to be a bunch of good little clones following it like mindless dummies. I don't play homie's game. I follow the laws of the land and don't interfere with anyone who doesn't want to deal with me. After that, my highest source of wisdom and knowledge is what I feel inside of me, given to me by God, not all this phony knowledge created by people to try to make money or control people in some way by getting them to buy into some ideology or lifestyle brand. I had to do what I felt was right with my life to give me my own sense of honor, self-respect, and dignity within myself, away from the reward system of the world. My God made me the way I am. He gave me my true nature, including my primal, bohemian, free-spirited, hedonistic streak, which I talk about mostly in my love and sex book. I don't repress who I really am, so it's all there at the forefront of my mind all the time. I don't reveal it to people who don't want to deal with it, but I purge it the best that I can because it's who I am. I realized I had to be true to it. I don't buy into the propaganda out there that wants me to settle for junk food, beer, and TV as my highest pleasures at the expense of the real transcendent sensual pleasures hidden away in the core of my being. A great life is not that hard to achieve. You have to always run with your true nature, who you really are. Follow the natural inspiration within yourself to release most of this energy every day, then round it out with some love, affection, and sensual hedonism as you're winding down at night. If you do this every day, you'll always feel anywhere from good to great about yourself, and when you get to the end of your life, you'll be ready to move on because you will know that you were true to the spirit inside of you. Tap into that natural force your God endowed you with and release most of that energy all the time. You have to live to honor your free spirit if you want to feel on with your life like you're riding a pretty good wave. This is the only way you can feel like you're in a natural transcendent flow all the time. Feeling good comes from a sense of self-respect and well-being. You only get it way down deep by doing things that you consider tough, inspired and challenging to test your sense of gusto every day. You make the effort to prove to yourself you got it going on, you're pretty good at what you like to do. You're honoring who the Godhead Creator Spirit made you to be. You're creating yourself the way you want to be. You conquer yourself every day, one day at a time, by releasing that God-given power you feel inside of you. If you don't do this, you ultimately lose the game of life. Get a job, get married, is it enough? I was educated to aspire to go to college to get a professional job, after which I would get married, have children, buy a house and acquire material things. There's only one problem with this paradigm. It's not mine. It's somebody else's ideas of what a good life is thrust onto my true nature. I was well-intentioned, young and naive. I went along with the system's ideas of what it means to be happy and successful, but I never felt quite right inside. I had to go through a whole lot of living to finally get to the point where I realized that two separate realities exist in life. 1. Society's reality. 2. My own pure reality, away from everything I was ever brainwashed by. This is a great feat in anyone's life, to recognize that you have your own ideas of what happiness and success are, away from the usual capitalist pop culture religious patriotic brainwash. After this, I made another discovery. I have an inherent standard of who I was born to be by nature. I must honor this standard by releasing most of my natural energy to that end every day. Most of my natural energy is inspired. My two most inspired pursuits are physical and creative intellectual activities. After this, I'm a bit of a hedonist and a bit of lover, and I have to do a few things to take care of my practical needs, so for me, as long as I'm purging most of my natural inspired energy every day, it's a great ride. I don't want to get off and live that generic life most people seem to be living, where it's just a comfortable flatline. You get up every day. You either create your life through what you do the way you want, you go along with the standard plan of the traditional work ethic, or you don't do much of anything beyond being a passive spectator consumer of the mass media and pop culture entertainment. It takes intelligence to create your life so you can live freely doing what you want. It takes guts to break from the pack to go your own way, and it takes strength and power to keep doing it rather than just say screw it, go drink another beer, eat a bag of chips and watch stupid shows on TV. For me, as an observer of how the mass media indoctrinates people, I watch the TV commercials, then I see what they say in them being done in real life, like women who color their hair, buy into the delusion called fashion and read frivolous women's magazines, and men who wear earrings, watch wrestling and play video games. The forces of cultural indoctrination can be powerfully seductive, particularly if you don't have an independent mind of your own. If nobody ever told you that it's a big fantasy land created to sell you stuff, you would grow up thinking that the stuff on TV and in frivolous magazines is where it's at, what you should imitate, but your real reality should be what you feel within yourself, away from all that stuff, and try to live by it. That's the great challenge of life in the modern era as far as I'm concerned. Do you become the hero of your own life like Charles Dickens' character David Copperfield speculated about himself, or do you become something less than this, perhaps taking on some comfortable role from the society you live in? That's the big quest. Is it possible to live a full life within the system, or do you have to be totally free to do it your way all the time? It's great to experience all that the world and people have to offer, but if your appetite for your life is true and pure, you have energy inside of you that you must release in order to earn dignity and happiness within yourself. Working some job, then eating chips and watching TV are not enough unless you're a brainwashed sucker nerd buying into the capitalist marketing machine. There's something else inside each of us that can take us to higher heights in the experience of the human condition if we follow it. It's your free spirit. It's all you really own, along with that bag of skin and bones surrounding it. It's all you ever really have, despite what people and material things you surround yourself with, and all you'll leave the planet with. If you have any doubt that all you own is your body and soul, and how material things and your so-called status out in the world mean almost nothing, watch any documentary about people with serious medical problems or old people. It's just you in that body. If you're smart, you'll run with it while it's vital and do everything you can to keep it strong. Friendship and relationships are great, but you still live your life alone, known to no one but you. Nobody ever wants to admit it or talk about it, but it's the truth. We create elaborate illusions for ourselves of connections through such things as being citizens of a particular nation, being part of the same generation, belonging to a certain religion, being an alumnus of a certain college, belonging to the same ethnic group, having the same hair color, being left-handed, being in the same profession, etc. But none of this stuff means much next to understanding and living by your own true nature. We're so brainwashed as a society that we don't realize that pretty well all of us are living by an artificial paradigm thrust over our true natures. Then when we feel empty or disharmonious inside, we turn to our so-called mental health paradigms and buy mental health drugs and psychotherapy, when the real problem is simple. We're not living by our true natures. Many of us have romantic, idealized notions left over from our childhoods of a wonderful, simpler family life that we try to replicate to the point of neurotic burnout, but real life is not some frozen, fuzzy-edged picture-perfect fantasy in your mind. It's what you do day by day, one day at a time. People, in general, try too hard to replicate some image they have of a happy family life which the other members of their family don't share and would call corny if confronted about it. So there we go again. You got your fantasies of an ideal life while your kids are fantasizing about their pop culture heartthrobs and already pushing you out of the picture. Wait until they get a tattoo and tell you they don't want to go to your alma mater. You can't control other people. You can only control yourself. See yourself away from all your delusions. Your kids aren't you. Your spouse is not you. Who is the real you? Are you just another overweight, aging, thinning-haired generic dude thinking he looks important, cool, and sexy when he's talking on his cell phone out in public like the asshole I saw at a soccer field doing this? Is that all you got for game? It's your own fault for being a brainwashed nerd. Get real. Society tells us what happiness is. Oh, carry. Oh, blind strivings of the human heart. Onward, it saith, and where beauty leads, there it follows. Whether it be the tinkle of a lone sheep bell over some quiet landscape, or the glimmer of beauty in sylvan places, or the show of soul in some passing eye, the heart knows and makes answer, following. It is when the feet weary and hope seems vain that the heart aches and the longings arise. Know, then, that for you is neither surfeit nor content. In your rocking chair, by your window dreaming, shall you long, alone. In your rocking chair, by your window, shall you dream such happiness as you may never feel. Last paragraph of Sister Carrie. By Theodore Dreiser. The social sciences academic system tries to make life seem much more complex than it is. Part of it is to sell books and continually offer more courses at college through a concept called iatrogenesis, creating phony knowledge to constantly expand the field in a capitalist way, but it's also an elitist, status thing. Academic intellectuals in the social sciences in general try to pretend they're more advanced than everybody else and know something profound about the human condition that other people don't, but if they were truly wise and enlightened they would see that all this knowledge they're cheerleading for is a big pile of manufactured bull and would go off and live pure lives pursuing what's in their free spirits because this is the highest way anyone can possibly live, but they stay there teaching this stuff to young, naive minds because they're too timid to try to live a great life on their own terms. You can either accept yourself as is and get on with living a great life, or be neurotic for the rest of your life looking for a connection that doesn't exist much in the so-called real world. That's the line as I see it. I spent half of my life looking for love, friendship, and connections with society at large. Then when I got all these things, I still felt empty inside. This comfortable state of complacency where you're doing all right and not feeling any pain misses one thing in life: seeking the highs in the experience of the human condition, releasing the natural energy in your free spirit, trying to transcend your limits for the joy you get out of it. You do because you must, because it's the call of your spirit. It's like Teddy Roosevelt said in one of his speeches, you're either one of the huddled masses watching the show or you're in the arena doing it. The real winners of life are active people who make a good effort to release most of their natural energy every day. Society had educated me to look for love and friendship as the one key to happiness that was higher and greater than all the others, but I now know why the divorce rate is so high. People aren't true to themselves. If you're not true to yourself, you feel messed up. Deep down you feel like you betrayed yourself. You can't be a great, kind lover in this state of mind. They tell us to get married while we're still a bunch of brainwashed, naive kids without a strong sense of who we are, freely away from cultural indoctrination, so we get married, then 10 years later realize we're not really happy in the glorious sense of the word. Love, romance, and a good career are not enough. We're the first generation in human history with the leisure to go beyond this conventional wisdom and contemplate it, which I did looking for the answers to life. I realized I have my own inherent standard. That has to be my first allegiance because I have to honor who God made me to be. It's my true nature. Society has this thing about going out looking for a mate to fulfill you, but it won't. After the fireworks of the honeymoon are gone, it's still the same old you stuck in your head. Your consciousness does not change. Millions of people think that marriage will permanently elevate their state of consciousness by a quantum leap, but it's still you alone in your head. If you're like most people, you'll eventually realize that your dog or cat gives you more touchy-feely love than your mate, unless you luck out with a very touchy-feely partner, which is rare based on my experiences with people. Most people don't seem to enjoy touchy-feely intimacy for its own sake, or at least they don't act like they do. You must be at peace with your own state of mind before you can ever possibly be a great lover, mate, and parent. You have to be proud of who you are through what you do. If you're not in harmony with your free spirit, you'll always be miserable. Love can't help you. Conversely, you can't be a great lover until you got that feeling of harmony within yourself. This is why modern society screwed us all by giving us erroneous rules and guidelines of how to be happy. Most people never question them, but I had to, because by definition I am a self-proclaimed enlightened free spirit. I had to question everything and topple it all until it was just me and my real self living true to my soul every day of my life. Intrinsic joy vs. the external reward system. No matter what happens, don't stop living as though you were a little kid exploring your natural thoughts and feelings. In my quest, I went out looking for life, seeing new places, meeting new people, trying new things, until I eventually realized that it's all the background of my life. My essence, soul, or consciousness is a fixed entity I was born with. My only job is to discover it, then live by it. Everything else is the noise of the world trying to sell me something or get some kind of control over me. That's it. Our society is structured such that even the quest for career success and socio-economic status are an indirect search for love from the community at large. We want to be recognized and admired by others as talented, extraordinary people. Society is set up for you to chase the system of rewards. It goes back to grade school when the people who got the best marks were rewarded with the most gold stars, and then we were ranked on our report cards from the student with the highest marks to the one with the lowest. In sports, I was told that it was all about winning. Never mind that for me it was all about purging my energy to feel good regardless of the score. I remember one time we lost the big final championship game. Some of the boys were tearing up in the locker room. I could have cared less. I purge my energy. I feel good. A free, enlightened person is not brainwashed to care about the score. I do the activity for its own sake. The prize is doing it. The score is just some bull created by neurotic people in order to play some artificial egotistical, superiority-inferiority game. You want people to see you as a special, important, elite person. This is why people buy much bigger houses than what they realistically need and drive much bigger, more expensive cars than what they need. They want attention, therefore love from others. The problem with all this massive cultural indoctrination is that it sets your way of thinking up to live on external rewards, rewards that other people give you. If you buy into it, you're not in control of your life, therefore not free. You're a stupid clone just like all the other asses buying into it. You haven't analyzed your life enough to realize they're all full of crap. It's about what you feel inside yourself away from all these man-made artificial paradigms of life. It starts at school, where the paternalistic school board gives out certificates of achievement for academic success. Then it's all about getting into the best college, after which it continues right on into adulthood, where you desperately want to get promoted at work and move up in your socio-economic status. In Canada, where I'm from, they routinely give out an award called the Order of Canada, where people go to Ottawa to get this medal pinned on them, then go to a cocktail party or some social function like that. To my way of thinking, it's like what a waste of 2 days of your life. You take a plane there, book a hotel room, then the next day spend several hours waiting in line to get your medal with about 20 or so other people in this boring ceremony. Then there's some social function, after which you take the plane back home. For what? Just to have Big Brother say you're a good citizen clone. If you're brainwashed by the system of external rewards, it's an ego stroke. For people like me, it's a big waste of time and can't compete with living my life freely, doing what I want, following my true nature for those few days. But people line up en masse to go if they're told they're the recipient of this award. This is a big problem in modern society. We're conditioned to be achievers according to the artificial values of the outside world, so much that many of us base our self-worth on what we do out there. There are people who feel inferior all their lives because they never got a college degree or made middle management. They're living by other people's standards, not their own. They're failures at the art of great living. What it's really about is to do whatever it is you do for the intrinsic love of it. Follow your true nature the way God created you to be. Try to figure out a way to earn a living at it. Everything else is a vain attempt to get validation, attention, and admiration from others. It shows you're not enlightened when you're looking for others to validate you, like all the jackass-type videos on video websites. None of it works because it's really about you honoring your inner standard. Praise from the crowd is fleeting, both because after they cheer for you, they move on to the next thrill, and all people live alone in their own heads. You might give them a momentary thrill, but after that, they're back to their own self-centered thoughts. Why do all those has-been entertainers self-destruct? They relied on the applause from the crowd for their sense of ego. Then when that was gone, there was no sense of self left. Why did Elvis turn into a fat wimp? He could have been a dashing middle-aged man. Why couldn't Michael Jackson sleep without pills? His demons were all created in his own head, worried about what other people thought of him. Why do so many former professional athletes turn into tubs of lard? Case in point, the guy who's currently doing basketball sportscasting who got charged for DUI. All these people don't understand that you have to honor who you are all the time. What other people think of you doesn't matter. People in general don't really give a damn about you trying to impress them that you're so special. The world is overfull of vain people trying to get their few minutes of fame by doing something frivolous and meaningless to entertain the masses. So what? It's a big circus. This is what life in a decadent society has been reduced to. I personally need another pop idol like I need a hole in the head. You gotta live by your own passions every day and be happy with that you get the freedom and means to do what you really wanna do while half of the world is barely getting by. If you wanna be loved by society, the truth is that nobody really gives a damn except for losers with no lives of their own, often called fans, which is short for fanatics. Everybody is thinking about the most important thing in their lives, themselves. Nobody's thinking about how fabulous you are because you're supposedly a star. They're thinking about supper, what's on TV, what time should they have their first beer, etc. We've been conditioned to seek out love and approval from others rather than trusting ourselves and living by the standard inside of us that our God Creator endowed us with. The prize of life is the experience itself. It doesn't matter what other people think of you either way, whether they love you or hate you. It's about living by your true nature, riding the flow of the energy you feel inside that your God gave you. The Neurotic Search for Love. Citizen Kane has been rated as the greatest movie of all time. This is because it exposes how destructive existential loneliness can be. The guy became a tycoon out in the world trying to replicate the mother's love he had for a short while as a kid before it was abruptly taken from him. His life was reduced to looking to find that kind of love again. That's what the sled represented. Everything he did was a desire to find that mother's love again. He mistakenly thought success and power out in the world would give him love, fame and a good, fulfilled feeling, but it didn't. His life was a tragedy because everything he did was a subconscious attempt to go back to that warm, safe feeling he had briefly in childhood, which, of course, he never could because life doesn't work that way. It keeps moving. As much as people try, you can't freeze a perfect moment and relieve it. People make extensive wedding albums and wedding videos trying to preserve a moment in time. Half of them will be rendered void by divorce. According to free spiritism, Citizen Kane should have gotten over his craving for perfect motherly love and focused on living a great life day by day through what he did in releasing his natural energy instead of spending his life seeking the comfort of the womb, so to speak, by trying to be a popular, famous man getting admiration from the masses. You can choose to live right now in the moment and keep running with your life no matter what, or you can feel deficient and alone because you don't have the love you crave in life, then spend your life neurotically looking for love and approval from others. We create gods to try to fill our loneliness. We drink alcohol and do drugs, sometimes alone, sometimes with others, because we want to ease our feelings of not having anyone who will ever know us or fully understand us, even if they love us or say they do. Some people eat a lot of food to try to fill the void they feel inside. Some people buy a lot of useless stuff they don't need. Some people talk endlessly on internet chat rooms with strangers, read romance novels or watch TV, achieving a kind of pseudo-intimacy with the celebrities and fictional characters out there. If you seek fulfillment through looking for love the way you dream about it, people will often disappoint you because they have their own agendas and you will still spend most of your time alone in your own head. Relationships can only fill you up so far, then you're alone to find fulfillment within yourself. A lot of people don't know this, partially because almost everything, all the way from fairy tales to love movies, tell us that love and marriage will solve our problems and make us happy, but they don't, simply because you still spend most of your time alone. Granted, a certain percentage of happiness and fulfillment is made up of love and intimacy, but a much bigger percentage depends on who you are and what you do. There's no in crowd anywhere, despite the airs people put on and the desperation some of them have to fit in with the alleged cool people. We're all a bunch of loners walking around, trying to fit into some collective image of what it means to be cool and successful so that we can attract cool, successful people to us and be part of the illusory, local happening crowd for a while. You have to be polite, or at least don't interfere with other people by law, but the rest of your life is just you with your solitary thoughts, seeing it and analyzing from it your own point of view that no one else will never know, and most people don't particularly care to know because they're too busy with living life from their own point of view. I can't get neurotic like all the lonely hearts around me, worried that they'll never get the perfect feeling of love they desperately crave, then get depressed and live miserable lives, which makes them even more unattractive to possibly meeting potential new friends and lovers. The pursuit of love and affection are inherent to us, but many people take it too far. They think that if they find a decent mate, they'll be happy forever, but the truth is that your relationships are only as good as you are today. If you start going downhill as an individual or get angry and mean because of frustration at work, your relationships are sunk. Don't be so neurotic that you destroy your life looking for some dreamy love connection you got brainwashed by in some movie to soften your sense of existential loneliness. The movies are very far away from real life as lived day by day. The movies are fictional, idealized stories, even the true ones. They call it dramatic license. Love and affection are great if you can find people and pets who love you for you, but even then, you're only engaged with them for an hour or two a day at the most in mutual intimacy. The really enlightened people eventually figure out that life is finite. You got so many days to run powerfully and aesthetically with your free spirit. That's the meaning of life. Run with it strong and free while you got it. Live it with all your beauty, guts, inspiration, fun, and transcendence. If you don't, you're a sucker one way or another. You're either too weak, lazy, and scared to honor your free spirit, or you're buying into an artificial agenda that's not who you are in your true nature. Running with your life should never end, not when you get a job, get married, retire, make $1 million, break your leg, get depressed, get paralyzed, get cancer, get old, your loved ones die, etc. Repressing your true nature, the tragedy nobody talks about. Existential loneliness is the first kind of loneliness people feel. The second kind of loneliness or emptiness is a detachment from our true natures, alienation from who we were born to be, the way we were created. You have to find meaning within yourself that keeps you inspired, excited, stimulated, and feeling good day after day. I didn't find freedom and enlightenment until I was about 28, and my life became crystal clear to me in a Gestalt-like moment. I was in a shopping mall when I realized I was different from most of the people around me because I had my own intuitive standard of who I wanted to be and how I wanted to live, which I lived by every day through what I did, while most people around me either go along with the forces of the pop culture world or they're ambitious according to the standards of the capitalist world, so they bypass who they really are in their true natures and end up living by artificial standards not inherent to them. It's really that simple. That's what separates the few free, enlightened people from everybody else. They're following the music in their souls. Everybody else is following something in the outside world. The most popular artificial values people follow are the pursuit of career/capitalist success, seeking happiness through material things, and pop culture entertainment. The game to live a full life is to run with it all the way until you die. Always release the natural energy in your free spirit. Don't just sit on your ass, watching TV, drinking wine, buying stuff at the mall, thinking you got it made. If you do, you're living a pathetic, brainwashed life. The only free, enlightened, happy people are the ones getting the highs of purging what's inside of them for the fun of it, because they love doing it. That's why I always feel powerful and good. I was born with a craving for the answers to life. After a lot of exploration, I finally figured out that all I have to do is purge a good load of the natural energy inside of me every day in order to feel higher than the generic mundanity of the human condition, which is how somebody feels when they're comfortable in an average way. They haven't done anything intense to set their souls and/or bodies on fire. They're feeling no pain but feeling no highs either. The day unfolds with no sense of urgency to release their natural energy. It's a constant flatline. It's not like they're artists or bohemians who feel they must honor the great spirit that created them in order to do justice to their lives. If you don't feel like this, you ain't living a full life. You don't understand free spiritism. My life is about living in that transcendent zone all the time through what I do and how I think. Most people don't know this lifestyle of a transcendent flow I'm talking about. They're happy at generic comfort. There just aren't a lot of people out there looking to hit a grand slam in their experience of the human condition every day. Most people prefer to eat cookies and watch TV than to do something physically tough or creatively inspired that will make them feel exhilarated. It's just the way it is. They prefer the path of least resistance. Their goal is to live a comfortable life and buy into all that stuff the capitalist marketing machine is selling so that they become good consumer spectators, always looking for the next trendy thing to buy, always looking to be entertained by the next new pop culture product. Their ideal life is to buy what they want at the mall and absorb as much pop culture entertainment as possible. This is the American dream mindset marketed at us through the mass media. Of course, nobody admits to being a generic person hooked on pop culture entertainment, junk food, and trinkets from the mall, but this is the real disease in all modern societies. This destroys people's free spirits, which in turn destroys their bodies and minds. I was a yuppie doing all right by societal standards, but deep down in a moment of honesty I still felt like my life was meaningless or at least empty. I could have gone along with this fake yuppie lifestyle, but I had the guts to realize it would have been a waste of my life, so I went off and followed what I felt inside of me purely. I didn't follow the artificial dreams or standards from the world. I followed the natural joy in my heart. Many people don't live by who they really are in their free spirits, following the archetypes they naturally had inside of them at conception. They're not connected to themselves or to the primal divine source, God, the Creator, that created them. They have bought into the knowledge and values of the world system over listening to themselves as individuals. Unused natural energy causes most misery. People are sad for lots of reasons like poverty, hunger, illness, injury, mourning the death or suffering of loved ones, losing the big game, divorce, not being able to pay credit card bills, gambling, etc. Within myself, I discovered my biggest source of misery was in not following my true nature. Before then, I always knew that regardless of what success or accolades I achieved out in the world or how much money I had, I still didn't feel like my life was right on. If I don't release most of my natural energy on any given day, I don't feel good. To me, it's self-betrayal, which is why I live to constantly release most of the natural energy I feel in my spirit when I wake up in the morning. This is the only way to reach the upper limits of the human condition all the time. You can't get a free, euphoric kind of flowing feeling about your life any other way. Sad people in general either don't do much of anything beyond being passively entertained by TV, computer games, romance novels, etc., or get caught up in trying to achieve success according to the artificial values of the world. The technology of modern-day life has not only alienated us from other people because we each sit in our own rooms in our houses watching something on a screen by ourselves, but we also don't follow our true natures, therefore don't purge our natural energy every day to make us feel good about ourselves. Free spiritism is to live to release most of the natural energy in your free spirit every day in its several varied facets: inspired, sensual, hedonistic, loving and affectionate. When you get absorbed in the few activities you love to do and strive to ride this feeling within yourself, that's as great as it gets. There's nothing else that can get you up there in freeing your spirit, elevating your state of consciousness, giving you a state of well-being and a sense of self-respect. After 19, most people get caught up in either the paper chase, the pursuit of domestic bliss, or both, so they lose a hold of who they really are in their true natures. This is why depression pills, anxiety pills, and self-help books are multi-billion-dollar industries. It's so simple that almost nobody gets it except for a few people like me. They're looking for something more complicated like psychoanalysis or 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which are artificial solutions for a society based on artificial values. The establishment can't make money when a guy like me comes on the scene and says you gotta go back to your true nature and release that natural energy every day with love and passion for the process. If you live like this, you don't need anyone else's so-called social sciences bull, you don't need the so-called mental health industry, and you don't need all them stupid self-help, psychobabble, new age, pseudo-religious inspirational books out there. All you need to know is that if you release most of the natural energy that was in your soul when you woke up this morning, you'll feel good. If you don't, you'll feel anywhere from mundane to miserable. If you spend a lot of days not releasing your natural energy, it's a full-fledged case of self-betrayal. When you have unused natural energy inside of you, Your inner voice is always telling you that you're a sack of crap who didn't have the guts or the strength to release the potential in your free spirit. You have a feeling of disharmony, that something is missing or you're out of alignment. Modern society is full of people who think they're doing great because they made middle management or some other high position in the status chain, but in a moment of honesty, they know that something is off in their lives. When I was going through my yuppie phase, feeling like an asshole who sold his soul, the way I kept going was that I looked at all the other yuppies around me and got some reassurance from the sheer numbers of them, because there were a lot of people around like me, making a reasonable living, but I eventually realized I couldn't waste my life working some job that meant nothing to me. Society tells us how to live. The modern world is set up to indoctrinate everyone to a kind of capitalist pop culture pseudo-religious mindset in order to create a bunch of passive consumer spectators tapped into the traditional work ethic, looking for thrills and excitement by buying stuff and watching a screen, as opposed to living active lives as individuals. Society tells us how to live. It sets up standards of conduct for us. These conventions were created a long time ago by tribal chiefs for the good of the community at the expense of the individual living his or her life freely by what they felt within themselves. So we got artificial values masquerading as the right way to live, which are, in fact, stifling your true nature. The best thing you can possibly do with your life is to examine yourself purely to discover who you really are, away from the conventional wisdom of the world. Regardless of all the pop culture entertainment you see telling you that marriage, children, capitalist success, and fame/popularity will make you happy, they rarely mention the inner sense of beauty, sensuality, love, inspiration, and accountability you should feel within yourself of who you want to be and what you want to do, away from the standards of the world system. A lot of people live on past success or past glory. They think they've come so far because they've been promoted and moved up in their position of socioeconomic status, but you're still feeling the same consciousness in your head that you felt 20 years ago. Nothing has changed except for some delusion you bought into. It's one of society's illusions, to make you think you're more advanced and living larger than you were in the past. Another one is past achievements in the so-called real world. People think that because they won some trophies or got some academic degrees in their past that these things still mean something right now as to who they are and their quality of life. These things don't mean anything, because every day when you wake up it's a new day. You either create a great life by releasing most of your natural energy on that day, or you don't and feel generic and average. Life happens one day at a time. Nothing in the past matters after you've experienced it. You create your life as you live it, then when that moment is gone you move on to the next. The best life you can possibly live is to find something within yourself that you feel you must do to honor who you were created to be, and do it to help people, share your life with them and earn a living from it. If you end up doing something you don't really like to do as a job to earn a living, you'll never be happy, because happiness only comes one day at a time by feeling satisfied after you purge a good dose of your natural energy. There's no other way you can find happiness in the transcendent sense, a feeling that you're riding the flow of your free spirit. There's nothing else. I already see it among my peer group of 50-year-olds. They've all degenerated into generic duds who get no intense feeling of joy a person gets when they ride their lives like a surfer riding a wave. I can tell by looking at them. I can't be like them. They can have their stupid lives with all their delusions they got brainwashed by as to how large and in charge they think they are because they made middle management or sold X number of widgets this month. The sad thing is that instead of enlightening and freeing us, the mass media has massively brainwashed us to play this stupid little capitalist, pop culture game that destroys multi-millions of lives. Chapter 3. Don't buy into the bull of the world. Existential loneliness causes misery. You'll always be alone, stuck in your own head. You can get close and intimate with your family and friends. You can share your life with the world through what you do. You can get 1,000 emails a week from admirers at a social website. You can find a new sex buddy on sex dating websites every night. You can do drugs and drink booze with your friends all the time. You can achieve celebrity status and a lot of people will know your name, but through it all, you will still be a loner stuck in your own head for most of every day. It's the human condition. Some people call it existential loneliness. Nobody will ever understand you or know who you really are the way you think in the privacy of your mind, not even your mother or your spouse. The way to live the greatest life possible is to earn your self-respect and a sense of well-being through what you do every day, and after that, get a little bit of love and pleasure from the few intimates in your life, which are usually pets, because their love is much simpler and purer than most human relationships. Your destiny is to experience your life alone, known to no one but you, but we want love and connection so much that we're willing to sacrifice our lives looking for it, getting sucked in by all kinds of jerks, liars, crooks and con artists along the way. Searching for love has probably caused more pain to the human race than anything else. People think they will solve their feelings of emptiness if they find somebody to love who loves them back, but emptiness starts with the individual by him or herself. The mass media has brainwashed us to think that love will solve all of our problems, that if we just find a soulmate, we will be happy forever, but it's not true, because you are an individual who spends most of your life alone in your head. In order to be happy, you have to conquer yourself. You must discover your true existential identity, what talents and tendencies your Creator endowed you with, what you're naturally good at, what you like to do, then live to honor who you are in your free spirit. A lot of people never discover who they really are. They get brainwashed by the artificial values of the world. They don't live in harmony with who they really are, so they're lost souls who mistakenly think that finding someone to love will change their lives, but it won't, because their real problem is that they're not living in harmony with their true natures. Even after you find a beautiful, loving mate, you will find, as I have found, that nothing much has changed in your consciousness, the way you think and feel day by day. It's still you alone in your head, facing the biggest challenge of life, discovering your true identity and honoring it. My intimate relationships make me feel great, but only for a little while every day. We all have other things to do, and it would be uncomfortable for me to sit there with my loved ones, touching them, feeling them, serenading them all day long, telling them how much I adore them and love to be with them. When I first fell in love as a naive kid, I thought that something was supposed to change about my consciousness and state of mind permanently, because I had been brainwashed by watching thousands of love movies and shows on TV all my life. They always ended with the happily ever after thing. With my first real love affair as a young man, after the exaggerated, overly intense puppy love of the teen years, I went through that love-struck phase where you're walking on air because you're in love, but after 3 weeks at the most, physiologically the love hormones oxytocin and P get tired and stop shooting your body up to make you feel high. On top of that, I still had to go to school, work out, buy groceries and do other things. The first time I fell in love, it was really intense. This trend continued on throughout my 20s and some of my 30s, but then romantic love started losing its intensity for me. Now it's just another sensation of life, equal to a number of other sensations I experience. It's no big deal. I live a full life regardless of whether I'm single or in a romantic relationship. My point is that you can fall in love and go through all those fireworks, but then they're over and there you are, alone in your head, having to deal with your life again, even if you have this best friend and beautiful mate beside you. I formulated free spiritism after I realized I have my own sense of inner accountability to the soul, free spirit, or essence that is me, away from everything I've ever been brainwashed by, because this is all anybody real owns in life, this never-ending stream of consciousness in your head. The only way any human being can possibly feel great all the time is to honor that inner sense of accountability you should feel within yourself of who you were born to be, by releasing the natural energy inside of you every day, day by day. If you follow the artificial values of the world and don't realize that the key to a great life is to constantly release the natural energy in your free spirit, your life will be anywhere from mundane to miserable. The fact that you're loved or not doesn't have much to do with culturing a constant euphoric sense of well-being about yourself, because there is only one way to genuinely feel good about yourself. You have to earn it by doing tough, challenging, inspired, noble, worthy things that make you feel proud of yourself. It's about self-respect. My life centers around earning a good dose of self-respect every single day through what I do. I'll bet that a lot of people never even think about self-respect or what it is. It's the only way any individual can possibly feel good about their lives all the time. I'm not talking positive thinking psychobabble bullshit. I'm talking about following your true nature by releasing most of the natural potential energy that you feel inside of you every day when you wake up. Anything else is not a great life. There is always that inner voice inside of you that's telling you how you're feeling and how you're doing. Nothing outside of you can elevate it and sustain it such that you're riding on air all the time. If you manage to make a lot more money than you ever need, like win the big lottery, for the first few days you're thinking how lucky you are. You can buy anything you want, but you can only sit in one room at a time, drive one car at a time, drink one beer at a time, etc. So after a while, you realize that once you got what you need, material things can't take your inner sense of well-being up to a qualitatively higher level for days on end. All you can do is buy cheap transient thrills with it. A great life is a lifestyle or routine of releasing the natural energy in your free spirit with love and joy for the process day after day, every day until you pass. Only a few people like me know it and live by it. I went from generic clone to true free spirit. It's easy to feel comfortable with your tribe of companions. They could be your family, friends, workmates, the people at the church choir, your poker buddies, etc. I used to hang out with my friends all the time, every day for hours on end, talking about nothing in particular, doing nothing much of anything because I felt lonely and wanted the company, but it left me feeling like I was missing something. I felt like there was something else I should be doing as opposed to hanging around doing not much of anything. I felt unused, untapped energy inside of me, but I was too young, stupid, and weak to do anything about it. If you got guts, you just start doing whatever you feel is natural to you. You don't care where it will take you. You don't care how inexperienced you look to others. All masters started as novices. It's like the skinny awkward kid walking into a room of muscle men at a gym or a room of senseis at a dojo. You gotta have the guts to start, then the guts to hang on for the tough learning phase before you become a master. Most people do not have this kind of courage. It's easier to stay safe, comfortable, and pacified at home with your friends, your comfort food and TV. At first, it was just a vague feeling that something was off in my life, that I wasn't quite where I wanted to be. The process to freedom and enlightenment is a two-pronged deal. 1. You discover who you are purely as an individual. 2. You realize that most of society's institutions, knowledge, propaganda, and ideologies are either a big lie, a scam, or a tool of intimidation to try to control weak people who can't see past the deception. I slowly got freer and freer bit by bit and started to see that all of society's institutions were created by men and women like me, so they were all fallible except for objective physical law as in the hard sciences, and math and moral standards as in laws to protect people from destroying each other. After that, everything else is a matter of someone's subjective ideas and interpretations, which makes them all artificial next to the natural feelings I have within myself, which were given to me by my Creator God, so I trust them way more than I trust anything any person or formal institution is trying to tell me about how I should think and live my life. My awakening came when I realized that I'm a loner in my head like everybody else, even though a lot of people don't realize this and think they're a part of society or a subgroup within society, but we're really not. We're just pretending we are, playing out a transient role as good citizens when we go out in public among people, but we're really a bunch of loners who spend the vast majority of our time alone in our heads, living out rich fantasy worlds of our own creation. If you want to be free and enlightened, you only have one choice. You have to reject everything except for the hard sciences and the laws of the land and build an identity, listening to yourself only. You have to tap into the essence you are, that your God created you to be. You can tap into the knowledge base the world has created to help you learn about your life, but you must never accept any of it as gospel just because it comes from a supposed powerful formal institution without running it through your own critical analysis. I questioned all the institutions I was brought up to believe in and live by, even my low-level beliefs like cheering for Team A over Team B in a certain sport. I was brainwashed to be a spectator of professional sports like any normal kid, but as soon as I started to get enlightened, I realized it seems kinda stupid to watch other people do something and expect to get some kind of joy, euphoria, or emotional connection out of it. My true nature is to do things for the joy and euphoria I get out of them, not to watch other people, especially in sports where it's the same routine over and over again several times a week. I watch the circus here and there or an ultimate fight for the novelty and inspiration of it, but I will not waste my life being a fan of some sports team that doesn't even know I exist. My big epiphany came when I realized all this societal stuff I was brought up to believe in was somebody else's ideas thrust onto me. As a 25-year-old, my beliefs were not my original thoughts. Most of my friends were brainwashed by the same things I was, so I started distancing myself from the superficial brainwashed ones to seek out free-thinking people like me who saw past all the bull and lived to be true to who they really were, away from cultural brainwash. Life is very, very simple once you get enlightened and free. You are who you are the way you're born. Your free spirit, essence, or soul is a fixed entity that never changes but can easily get covered over by the artificial values and distractions from the world. Within your free spirit, you have an inherent standard of the person you feel you were born to be. Every morning when you wake up, you have a certain amount of natural potential energy inside of you that comes from your free spirit. All you have to do to live the greatest life you possibly can is to release most of that natural energy every day. If you do this, you're following your true nature and honoring who you were born to be. You are in harmony with yourself. If you don't do this, you're betraying yourself. These little self-betrayals build up day by day until you feel the disharmony or emptiness within yourself. This is the real tragedy of life. It's not a lack of deep, romantic love as the capitalist marketing machine would have you believe, because they want you to be neurotic and constantly buy more stuff to enhance your look and material status in the mistaken belief that this will help you find a mate, but it won't help you find a true soulmate. The only thing that will is if you live true to yourself and come upon someone living by the purity in their souls like you, and their essence, soul, or free spirit is very close to who you are and how you think. That's a soulmate. Not this crap we have in modern Western society about marrying someone because they wear trendy clothes, drive an expensive car, or come from the same socioeconomic status, religion, or ethnic background as you. Your God made you the way you are. All you have to do is honor Him by being who He created you to be. I never get lonely or weak because I live to be connected to whatever divine force created me that lives inside of me through my spirit. My connection with my free spirit is my connection to the great spirit of life in the universe, which is why I don't feel neurotic about trying to measuring up to some fake socio-economic status / pop culture coolness standard the capitalist marketing machine is blasting at us to try to turn us all into a bunch of dummies following that artificial value system you see everywhere in the mass media. Listen to the inner voice within yourself that your God gave you. Don't listen all that phony crap out there with all the phony experts and social sciences they created to try to make it seem like there's a formal establishment institution somewhere out there that's got the goods on life wisdom and you're supposed to be a good little clone following it like a dummy. The mass media warps people's minds. The capitalist mass media techno-pop culture bent of our modern society has made us a bunch of solitary souls connecting more with strangers on a screen and in cyberspace than in real life. I can watch some of the foolish pop culture entertainment without buying into the cult of celebrity that there are people somewhere more advanced than me because they've been manufactured to be phony super cool, super advanced, godlike, elitist pop stars and movie stars. I'm perfectly aware that all advertising is hype and pretense geared to suck me into buying into some lifestyle brand because the corporate marketing machine wants to make me feel like I belong to some elite tribe within humanity if I buy their products. But the tragedy is that for every free, enlightened person around like me, there are at least 80 brainwashed plebeians out there who equate feeling good with buying something. Of course, nobody will ever admit to being a brainwashed plebe, but all I have to say is look around. How many guys do you see wearing earrings, driving overpriced sports cars they don't need? What about tattoos? Does it mean you're cool or tough if you get one? Why do all the guys in rap videos wear their baseball hats backward? Why wear a baseball bat in the first place? It serves no useful function. Why pay double to triple for a product just to get the Nike logo on it? How many women do you see with colored hair? Does Botox, skin cream, or Fabulash serve any useful function, or is it all just some cosmetic marketer's ideas thrust onto you? In the book of Proverbs in the Bible, there's a passage that says a beautiful soul makes a beautiful face. This is why I can see past all that crap to determine if a person is beautiful. The truth is the exact opposite the corporate marketers would have you believe. The less makeup and trendy clothes you wear, the more beautiful you are, because you're real enough to be yourself and strong enough to not buy into all that pretentious crap. If you're a clone trying to look trendy like all the advertisers are indoctrinating you to do, people like me can tell immediately, so I got you pegged as a brainwashed, vain, superficial person trying to act cool like you're an in-crowder with the illusory popular group that only exists in teen movies and in the minds of indoctrinated people. The TV commercial says color your hair 'cause you're worth it. If you really felt you were worth it, you would have no need to color your hair. Free spiritism is all about being who you really are without pretense or image. Every kid in modern Western society is a big consumer of pop culture entertainment. I was indoctrinated to think that this is the cool cutting edge of life, but I later realized that it's a big low-level marketing ploy to suck stupid, weak people into wasting their lives being consumer spectators, always looking for something to buy and be entertained by to fill up their otherwise empty, meaningless lives. All those ideologies in the social sciences are somebody else's ideas, not yours. There might be some useful tidbits of knowledge there, but remember, you're a loner living your own unique ride of transient time. You follow yourself first before you start buying into any of that stuff, a lot of which is a big con, done for ego and status sake. Right off the top of my head, I can think of 3 examples of the so-called social sciences destroying people's lives. 1. Bruno Bettelheim created a theory of autism that blamed the parents, and Benjamin Spock created a theory of permissive parenting without structure that damaged a lot of people's lives. 2. Most of the elaborate self-help programs out there selling for hundreds of dollars are based on capitalist success achieved by following discrete one-liners which don't work because they don't tap into a person's true nature, how they really live, or who they really are day by day. 3. It's really easy to get diagnosed with depression or manic depression as a supposed clinical brain disorder due to something wrong in the organic brain beyond a person's control, so they constantly need drugs and therapy to control their moods. But the truth is that you create your biochemistry and state of mind day by day through how you live. It's a big scam created by the mental health industry to make money off stupid people who don't know any better. It's sad how so many people accept what they're fed without questioning it. The entire realm of the social sciences is a big bunch of fake verbal diarrhea that exploded onto the scene in the past 50 years or so. Now we got fake experts for everything and stupid quantitative research that supposedly makes these fields our formal, legitimate knowledge of life. Whatever happened to the intuition and wisdom given to us by God? They try to separate us from it in grade school and try to instill a sense of helpless dependency within us such that we turn to the system's institutions to solve our problems and tell us what to do. It's a big tragedy how we, the people, allowed ourselves to buy into all these lies the establishment is selling us. We're a bunch of pacified consumer spectators watching the tube while our bodies, minds, and souls rot away. Look around. How many people look like stellar, vital, inspired specimens of humanity as opposed to generic, pale, soft, puffy, overweight blobs of junk food? What is a beautiful life? I have come to realize that following my inner standard by consciously making the attempt to release most of my natural energy every day is the only way any individual can live the happiest, most vital life they can. The people that live like this experience the best possible ride of the human condition they can for themselves with what they got. Everybody else is considerably less happy and vital than this. The sad thing is that once anybody loses a connection to the free spirit within themselves, therefore don't live to release the natural energy within themselves, their lives quickly degenerate into mundanity. They usually end up going straight to misery after 50 when aging takes its cut, although very few people ever admit to feeling like they ain't got a sense of vitality anymore, but it's written all over them in their bodies and faces. It all comes from neglect of the real self, who you really are in your free spirit, aka true nature. My only allegiance to the spirit of life that created me is to live by my true nature without interfering with other people's lives who don't want to deal with me. I just have to release the straight out natural energy I was endowed with. That's an enlightened free spirit's life. You can see past everything in the mass media, propaganda world we were brought up to believe in, to focus on the one thing you know for sure, your free spirit. I'm accountable to the free spirit inside of me. I must release that energy every day. The only way anyone can possibly guarantee that they feel as good as they possibly can is to live to release the natural primal noble energy they feel within themselves all the time. Everybody else and every ideology ever created is full of crap next to this. The only real winners of life are the ones who are highly aware that they have their own inherent standard and live to honor it. Everybody else lives a much lower quality of life than people who are tapped into their true natures. All the socializing, gossiping, and hanging out you do is a soothing comfort for lonely, weak people looking to fill up an empty, unfulfilled feeling, but the real winners of life are the ones doing their own thing because they know they must, because it's who they are. Everybody else huddles like a bunch of sheep tuned into the mainstream mass media wavelength to reassure themselves that they're connected to society, but the big tragedy is that they're not connecting to the true natures they were born with. Success in life is living by your real self, not by some artificial values you got indoctrinated by, although some activities out in the world are close to what you're naturally attracted to doing anyway. For example, if you like to build stuff, you might become a home builder. If you're a know-it-all who likes to talk, you'd probably feel good about being a teacher. Many careers or jobs might earn you money, but they do nothing to help release the natural energy in your spirit, so you end up with that yucky feeling of never being satisfied about your work. Within yourself, you have an idea of the person you want to be and the person you are. Some people delusionally feel they're more advanced and beautiful than they really are, but that's okay because the truth comes out every now and then in a clear or weak moment. The only way you can possibly feel good all the time is to keep creating yourself by releasing your natural energy. If you don't do this, you know you're betraying yourself, which is the real question of life. Have I betrayed myself by not following my true nature? The key to a happy, euphoric, and healthy life is to release what you feel within yourself purely, away from the brainwash of the world. If you figure out how to live like this, follow it, and figure out how to earn a living from it, this is as good as a human life can possibly get. What is beautiful to you? My version of beauty is how I live every day. All I do is release my inspired, sensual, and loving energy with intense love for the process. I can't stop who I am to conform to the world. I just keep on doing what I'm doing. I feel like I'm Logan at the stupidity and absurdity of our so-called advanced world all the time, at all the fools out there thinking they got something, destroying themselves working for meaningless things they got brainwashed by. Work hard at what you love to do. Free spiritism is kind of contrary to what I was brought up to believe in. If you're on a sports team, the coach punishes you by making you do extra exercises. If you work a job, everybody's telling you to slow down because they want easy shifts. If the boss knew his staff could do the work much faster than they're doing it now, they think he'll pile more work on. There's great joy in a massive release of energy. Working hard at what you love to do constantly regenerates you and makes you feel good. You get tired out by expending your energy throughout the day, but after some good food and a good night's sleep, you're ready to do it all over again. Michelangelo lived to 90 in medieval times doing what he loved best day after day, sculpting stone. If there's any great secret to life, this is it. It's not about some phony new age secret where the universe supposedly gives you what you want because you have such great intentions. It's about creating your life through what you do day after day. To me, if you don't live like this, I think of you as a floater, floating around, looking for something. You don't know what, so you fill your mind up with the stuff that the world is trying to sell you, like consumerism, traditional ambition, socioeconomic status, politics, religion, pop culture, entertainment, art, what some people call culture or something else from the outside world, as opposed to trying to discover your true nature and living by it. Happiness and misery exist as two extremes on a continuum. Let's presume that you're not living in poverty, therefore not constantly worried about food and bills. Once you got that covered, an individual's happiness or misery is directly the result of how much natural energy they release from their free spirits day after day. Happy people release their natural energy all the time. Average, comfortable, complacent, mundane to miserable people don't. Love, money, consumer goods, high status, and a good group of friends all hanging out together still can't rate next to being true to yourself by constantly expressing what's in your spirit. The reason I know this is because I lived through all of it looking for something to make me happy. Romantic love and deep love of your intimates is great, but you don't spend your days serenading each other with love songs. You spend most of your day alone in your own head. You're ultimately accountable to yourself. The big cultural brainwash line is that love makes you happy, all you need is love, love will solve all your problems, but I've been loved all my life and I feel I'm a loving person, but it never made me whole or happy. It's a nice comfort. It gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling, but other people's love for me as well as my love for other people still didn't answer my deep cravings as a young man to discover my true nature, then get some satisfaction out of living by it. Now as an adult, love can't give me the self-respect and sense of well-being that I myself can only earn through what I do every day in honoring who I feel I was born to be in my free spirit. I've had as much love as any human being can have. All the love in the world can't make me proud of who I am. Only I can do that through inspiration, sweat, hard work, and the pursuit of sensual hedonism and loving connections. It's only one part of a big pie. Imagine you're sick in a hospital bed. Your family is all there showering you with love. It's all nice that they're there to give you emotional support, but they can't help you get up and dance on your bed. You ain't gonna be feeling really good until and unless you get some of that old spark back from your free spirit so you can dance around like you used to. If you ain't got this, all the love in the world can't help you, and the only way you can get it is to earn it for yourself through what you do day by day in keeping your free spirit strong, inspired and vital. I see all these brainwashed people on TV parrot out the old cultural brainwash line, it's all about love, while I can tell they ain't got no vital spark or lust for their lives because they look like pacified, mundane people, so there's no way they know the euphoria and inspiration any free, enlightened person feels when they're riding their lives in a flow with lust for this aesthetic, spiritual, sensual, inspired feeling within themselves. I live for the sensations I get by going all out with intensity and abandon that make me feel vital because I wanna feel my life go in full blast, honoring who my God created me to be. I acquired a reasonable amount of wealth at one time, but I realized I didn't care about my material possessions. I just wanted to be free to do my own thing every day. I like to catch a buzz now and then using recreational substances, but it's impossible for me to ever become addicted to any substance because my essence/consciousness/thoughts are naturally so focused on matching my inner standard by releasing a worthy amount of natural energy every day that I could never say screw it then sit around getting high all the time, which millions of people do, including prescription drug addicts. Addicts have betrayed themselves. They know it. They're not honoring who they were born with the potential to be. There's no such thing as a happy addict regardless of the addiction. I know a guy who collects expensive paintings and a girl with a bedroom full of clothes. These people are compensating for the disharmony within themselves achieved by not living by their true potential, so they're trying to get a good feeling through material goods. They might not realize that this is what's happening, but it is. I just gave you the answer to cure all addictions and most mental illnesses. Discover who you really are in your true nature, then make a good effort to release that energy every day to match a standard you should feel within yourself way down deep, past the layers of cultural conditioning. Releasing the natural energy in your free spirit determines who is happy and vital and who isn't across a person's lifespan. Everything else comes and goes. The only old people who are happy and vital are the ones who developed the sense, inspiration, and aesthetics to keep moving with the pulse of their lives at some point and kept doing it. Everybody else has degenerated into pacified mass media clones next to this. If you wait until you're 65 and all of a sudden decide to follow your free spirit, your body and mind are heavily damaged through all those years of neglecting your true nature. In some cases, there's no way you can get a vital body back. You don't have to wait until people are old to see who's still spry, inspired and vital. In the vernacular, it's called who's got game, who looks like they're living a happy, vital life. By the time most people are 35, the grace of youth is long gone. I can almost always pick out the people who still got game achieved by releasing the natural energy in their free spirits on a regular basis versus the ones who don't. Ultimately, your life comes down to you and your free spirit. It's all you got. All the material things in the world are nothing next to the power of your free spirit. You either got it or you don't. Multi-millions of people work hard for material wealth while letting the power in their spirits rust away. If you don't release it every day, you'll never feel good, euphoric, and strong virtually all the time. Do you know who you really are? Are you comfortable in your own skin? Do you honor who you perceive yourself to be every day by releasing energy to that end? If you want true love, follow your free spirit. The big problem that a lot of people never figure out is that being loved will not solve your problem of individual identity. You have to develop a strong identity on your own through what you do. If you don't have a strong identity, you can't really be a great lover because you're always feeling out of harmony with your true nature. People still feel lonely, unconnected with other people and society in general even when they're close, intimate and friendly with their families, friends, the church congregation, the local sewing club, school, work, the government, etc. They want a perfect kindred spirit soulmate connection like they saw in movie, or it's a utopian vision they have, but the real world is made up of real people with constantly changing moods. There is no one perfect moment of love, then it's love for life. It's a constant work in progress. We're all individuals with our own egos, emotions, ideas, and agendas. Even when we think we're kind and loving people, most of us except for a few saints, still think about ourselves way more than we think about other people because that's who we are by design. We're stuck in our heads geared for self-preservation and the pursuit of a comfortable life first before we think about anyone else. If you try to tell me that people are mostly kind, good and loving as people have done in the past, I'll just say, well then why are there so many poor, hungry, homeless people out there who can't get basic medical service? In your own hometown, there are a few people living in extreme excess while some people have almost nothing. I'm aware of this stuff and not buying into the propaganda about the happy family of humanity united for the common good as the New Agers seem to think with their power of intention crap. A lot of people simply don't analyze their lives, realize they're existentially alone like everybody else, then accept it and get on with living a great life. They're stuck feeling lonely, so they're looking for something to elevate them in the moment. It could be anything from superficial friendship like hanging out at the bar to eating too much greasy food. The bottom line is that it's always about you, stuck in your own head. You have to create yourself to feel good and be inspired about your life. Society tries to exploit people's existential loneliness by offering to sell them frivolous things to fill up their feelings of emptiness, but it never works because the true challenge of life is to fill up your sense of existential loneliness by becoming the person your God created you to be. If you want love, this is your best chance of finding it, by being yourself, actively living your life as opposed to trying to manufacture an image about yourself that you got from the capitalist pop culture world, or drowning your feelings of loneliness by becoming a self-pitying consumer spectator, always looking for something out there to fill you up for a minute or two. You can only find true love by finding a soulmate or kindred spirit. In order to attract someone who shares your free spirit, you have to be expressing it so that kindred spirits see and come to check you out. If you're a generic person working some generic job, you're conforming to some standard not inherent to you. People won't see what's really in your soul, so you'll end up marrying another generic person like yourself and never find a true soulmate. It's a great tragedy that nobody ever talks about it, that they married someone who was not a soulmate in the first place. Based on my own observations, easily less than 10% of all married couples are true soulmates in the sense that both have the same free spirits, therefore share a primal spiritual bond. They're cut from the same cloth. The same things motivate them. We wonder why we're a messed up society. It's not that hard to figure out. It's because we don't listen to our true natures as individuals. We allow ourselves to get seduced and brainwashed by the forces of a mass media capitalist world. Then when we get all the markers of success and happiness according to societal standards, we realize it still doesn't give us a transcendent kind of rush out of life. Follow your true nature and you win. Anything else is not a great life. The fantasy of TV is not the real world. This book is about free spiritism, which is about breaking free from all those images and ideas other people, society at large and the capitalist marketing machine have sold you because they want you to be a manageable clone buying into that game, therefore being a good, passive spectator consumer working your ass off at some job to reach somebody else's ideas of happiness and success, not necessarily yours. We pretend we're part of some big brother type group out there, but we're not, except that we vote in elections and live by the laws of the land. If you're free enough to follow what you feel and don't allow yourself to be influenced by other people trying to push their agendas onto you, that's a great step towards understanding yourself away from the brainwash of the world. I live to honor what's inside of me the way my Creator made me to be. I release the energy in my free spirit every day. That's it. It doesn't matter to me whether I do it for my own benefit or to share it. I honor what I feel inside of me, which is what my Creator God wants me to do because He made me that way. Pop culture entertainment has turned many of us into a bunch of wishful thinkers, Pollyannas, dreamers, and delusional people. Free spiritism is to say to yourself, screw all that crap, I'm gonna live my life my way, day by day, and actually do something about it, as opposed to watching a screen, getting all kinds of stupid ideas from it, not doing anything about it, then the next night filling your mind up with more of the same stupid ideas. Accept who you are the way you were meant to be, get over your fantasy delusions and move on with the natural flow of your life. Don't fret because you're not living large like you saw in some movie with some cool, successful characters living great lives of excess, fun and romance. It's a fantasy geared to turn you into an eternal consumer looking to buy more of the pseudo-magical feeling you get when you watch fantasy stories on a screen by buying trendy, fashionable stuff at the mall. Many people who are loved and loving live anywhere from average to horrible lives simply because you have to figure out how to feel good about your life within yourself, away from other people exerting their love, influence, or hate and anger on you. You create your mood and state of being through your actions, what you do. This affects your thoughts, which determine the tone of your days. It all comes down to one thing: how much of your natural, inspired, sensual, loving energy do you release every single day? You were made to do things. If you don't do them, as many people in modern society don't because of all the technology and passive entertainment we have, you lose yourself little by little until you feel terrible. You have to dig your way out by releasing enough natural energy every day for at least several months until you start to feel some self-mastery and a sense of well-being about yourself. You have to honor an inner standard you should feel within yourself of who you want to be by releasing the bulk of your natural energy all the time in order to earn your self-respect and feel good. Almost everything out in the world is a sales job except for what you alone feel and think and the few people who care about you without any ulterior motives. There might be a few people that sincerely care about strangers because they feel we're all united as part of the human family, but after that, it's the outside world vying for your money and or a piece of your mind. Until you understand that and live by it, you won't be free and enlightened. We're trained as to what happiness is: make a lot of money, get married, have kids, buy a house, buy a bunch of stuff. Even if you got all this, it's still just you alone every morning. Will you live by your true nature every day? That's the only way you can be happy all the time. Purge that natural energy you feel within yourself. If you don't, it's impossible to be happy in the transcendent sense. I tried everything, even the pursuit of the luxurious lifestyle constantly marketed at us. If you want to be happy, you have to set your spirit soaring on high all the time. There are only a few ways to do this, by releasing inspired, loving and sensual hedonistic energy. Comfort, luxury, and material things are almost nothing next to this. If you don't do this virtually every day to reach a feeling of harmony within yourself, like you honored the gods that gave you life by riding a euphoric wave within yourself, you have no life as far as I'm concerned. This is what we lost in a high-tech society, a connection to our real, natural selves. Follow what you feel is right, not what somebody tells you. When you follow what you feel is right in your free spirit, you should eventually discover that you have an inherent standard away from everything you were ever brainwashed to believe in. After you know this, your life becomes simple. It's mostly about releasing your natural energy with intensity every day to reach the standard in order to live in a transcendent flow. You ride your life like a surfer rides a wave. This is the only way to feel anywhere from good to great all the time. If you don't purge most of your natural energy with intensity and love for the process every day, you betray yourself and live a low quality of life regardless of how much money and love you have. If you got guts and wisdom, you'll see that an enlightened life following your free spirit is about honoring the inner sense of accountability you feel within yourself. Most of the knowledge and wisdom you need in order to be enlightened and free can't be taught to you. All those steps and stages in all the self-help books ever written mean nothing because they all offer artificial rules of conduct that are nowhere near who you really are in your soul. You have to figure it out for yourself by studying your life, then act on whatever you think is the right direction to go. The world system is telling you what to do in order to be happy and successful. It starts before grade school when you hear fairy tales about the knight and the princess, watch TV shows and go to church, then you go to grade school where the massive indoctrination starts. This the tragedy and the dirty little secret nobody talks about. We're being set up for a life following other people's standards at the expense of who we are as individuals. You can pick from among the options the system offers, but what you really want to do in your freest imagination is probably not in amongst these options. Some of these options aren't bad, but it's still not what you really want to do with your life the way you imagine in your most freest, inspired, passionate moments. Even as a kid, I intuitively knew there was something wrong with all the G.I. Joe dolls, toy guns, cowboy TV shows and John Wayne movies I was constantly exposed to. I felt it, but I didn't say anything. I just went along with the stereotype until I killed a helpless bird with my .22 rifle when I was about 11 years old. I still remember it because it was so senseless, to kill an innocent animal because I wanted to prove to my brothers and friends that I was a good shot, therefore a tough guy, even though I felt that it's wrong to kill animals for sport. I watched it die and vowed that I wouldn't do that kind of stuff anymore. That was my inner sense of accountability telling me what was the right thing to do. It shows that I was brainwashed just like everybody else to try to do the right thing according to the system rather than following myself. You can take this to the extreme, to the point where men are killing each other because of some misguided idea of honor and patriotism they got brainwashed by because some powermongers and capitalists manipulated them to think like that. Intuitively I feel that the goal of life is to feel vital and healthy every day, yet why do I see millions of overweight, tired-looking people around? They obviously betrayed their true natures somewhere along the way. Think of your mind like world geography. Humanity has subdivided the planet down into about 200 countries or so, but it's really one planet subdivided by all these artificial boundaries created by men. In the same way, there's a pure you and an educated, indoctrinated you made of knowledge you acquired from out there. Some of it is good, useful knowledge. A lot of it is a bunch of crap geared to suck money out of you and make you think that there are some phony experts somewhere who know more about the human condition than you because they took some low-level courses somewhere and got licensed as our official wise people, or they try to sound like they discovered some secret, cutting-edge answers to life which they're willing to sell you. You can see these people routinely on infomercials, PBS pledge shows, and by watching TV evangelists with a large following. The only relevant question is, which do you follow first, the pure you or the indoctrinated you? Do you even know there's a pure you away from the educated you? Freedom and enlightenment is to know you can do whatever you want as long as you don't interfere with people who don't want to deal with you. You don't have to be in a monogamous relationship. You can be polyamorous or asexual if you want. You don't have to have kids. You don't have to work a regular job. You can figure out other ways to earn a living. You don't have to get a 20-year mortgage on a house. You can build your own out in the country where building codes are lax. I have an alternative home building section in some of my other books. You don't have to buy all those material goods they're constantly advertising everywhere. You don't have to try to imitate the people they manufacture as cool celebrities on TV. You don't have to repress your sensual hedonistic inspired nature just because societal forces tell you to go on the straight and narrow, work your ass off at some job for their trinkets and so-called status. Your life should be a free-spirited celebration of who you are. If somebody doesn't like it, that's their problem, not yours. There are no real experts in the so-called social science psychobabble industries. Nobody knows more about your life better than you. Everything except for science and mathematics is a put-on, or at least you should take it with a grain of salt. If it was created by man and it's not objective physical law, it's fallible knowledge. Everything except for scientific law can be toppled. That's why you should laugh cynically at most of the packaged ivory tower knowledge at colleges and in books. Listen to yourself, set your own course and follow it. That's what the real free, enlightened people do. They're not system clones hiding behind some title or job position, spewing off some academic diatribe they read somewhere. They're thinking their own thoughts, living by them. I connect to the only thing that I'm sure of, the force inside of me given to me by my Creator, whoever or whatever it is. It could be God, as in a Christian God, it could be nature as in evolution, or it could be a group of space travelers from somewhere else who genetically engineered the human race. I don't care who or what it is. I don't contemplate what will happen when I die. I'll deal with it then either way, permanent sleep, ascendancy into a spiritual realm called heaven, or a descent into the pit of hell. The only thing I know for sure is that if I release most of my natural energy every single day of my life with intensity and love for the process, I'll live a better life than everybody else except for the few free, enlightened people who live like I do. How does someone betray themselves? I live right now in the moment. I honor what is inside of me that my Creator created me to be. I release the natural energy in my soul every day to match an inherent standard inside of me of who I was born to be. Some people call this genetic aesthetic spiritual standard your archetype. You have to feel who you are purely away from the indoctrination of the world. By purging my natural energy to honor who I want to be, I earn my self-respect and sense of well-being every day, one day at a time. On any given day, after I release most of my noble, inspired energy, I can do anything else I want, as with the pursuit of relationships, money, career success, passive entertainment, sensual hedonism, etc. The point is that all you ever got is you and that invisible force within yourself that's your essence as a human being that your Creator endowed you with. Everything else is stuff from the world. If you allow yourself to get brainwashed by the games the world is playing, or you're too lazy to discover who you really are in your pure essence, then live by it, you'll always feel some sense of emptiness within yourself. It's self-betrayal. You're betraying your true nature. In my analysis of my life, I realized that I betray myself if and when I engage in any of the following three activities. I don't release most of the natural energy inside of me on any given day. Most people don't live to release their natural energy. They release artificial energy not inherent to them. They either go to school or work a job that they're not strongly attracted to. This does nothing in helping you in living a transcendent, inspired life. Don't buy into anything other than what you feel within yourself purely. All you do is focus on releasing most of your natural energy every day. If you live like this, you will feel anywhere from good to great virtually all the time, except when a tragedy hits and you mourn the loss of someone close or something like that. If you don't release your natural energy, this unused potential builds up inside of you and eventually causes feelings of disharmony, self-contempt, and self-betrayal. That's how simple it is. It's about focusing on releasing whatever is in your soul. Don't bother too much with what's going in the outside world. Don't buy into anything from religion to social sciences, academia to the cult of celebrity. Life in the modern world is the same as George Orwell predicted in the novel 1984. The big screen is always there, in your face if you let it be. Who will you be, a true individual following your own course in life, or another brainwashed clone, buying into all that crap on the screen, as if any of it is relevant to how you live day by day? Laziness, sloth, couch potatoism, or being a passive consumer spectator to the point where you know inside that you're wasting the valuable time of your life. You feel like you're dishonoring the talents and abilities you were born with by letting them sit inside of you used. It's lame to sit around not doing much of anything. It spirals in on you. Being dull and lethargic creates more of the same. You know you weren't created just to absorb pop culture entertainment. Some passive entertainment is good to relax at the end of the day after you've released a good load of your natural energy, but if you spend entire days and nights doing nothing but being entertained, you're dishonoring who your God created you to be. By the law of nature, animals and plants take what they need and leave the rest. Some animals, like squirrels, store food to survive during the famine of winter. Aboriginal people used to live by the law of nature and thanked the animals they killed for providing them with food for sustenance, but we in modern Western society are gluttons next to everyone else. Man is the only animal that engages in frivolous excess. We eat a lot more than we need, then we get degenerative diseases because of excessive weight. We take more prescription drugs, recreational drugs, and alcohol than anyone else. We own more clothes, cars, home decor and other useless stuff than we need. We're all perfectly aware that there are lots of sick, hungry, and poor people in the world. Intuitively, in the past when I was young and looking for happiness through the pursuit of frivolous excess, I had an inborn quality that told I was violating the most basic law of nature. My life is my spirit and my body. That's it. I should take care of them, not get absorbed with trying to acquire many more material things than I need and aspiring to live a life of luxury. I believe that even the most callous, elitist people intuitively know it's wrong to live in extreme material excess while there is so much poverty out there. It goes against the harmony of life. Why is the world screwed? Exploitation and greed. We take much more than we need and we still want more. This disharmony and self-betrayal is the root of much of our misery. Self-betrayal is the big tragedy in modern Western society that nobody talks about, not even the mental health industry. They got a good cash cow going, selling you pills and psychotherapy that supposedly probes your past and helps you fix unresolved conflicts, but it's all a lie. The past means nothing. The biochemistry in our brains is fine for most people. There are a few people with bona fide organic brain defects, but the rest of us create our biochemistry through how we live. We create our own depression by betraying ourselves when we don't live by our true natures. We can get rid of the depression by living by our true natures to release the natural energy we feel within ourselves every day when we wake up, as opposed to following the artificial paradigms of life the world has created for us. To live by your true nature, there are just 3 things you have to do. Release most of the natural energy in your free spirit every day. Don't be a passive, consumer spectator couch potato wimp sitting on your ass absorbing other people's ideas as opposed to living an active life following your ideas. Don't use more material things, food, booze, or drugs than you need for a basic comfortable life as opposed to the pursuit of extreme frivolous excess or what the capitalist marketing machine calls luxury. Losing a hold of yourself. I was a creative, vital, naturally inspired kid. Then I went to school and I channeled all this natural energy into playing that game to get good marks and be a good student so I could go to college and get a good job. After I did all that, I still felt empty, so little by little I tore away all my indoctrination until I was back to that same free-thinking kid I was at 5 years old. I believe all of us start out creative, vital, inspired, bohemian, sensuous and fun-loving like Zorba the Greek dancing around the fire, but it all gets buried away when we take on the values of the world. Then after enough self-betrayal, it's all gone. It gives way to a permanent feeling of mundanity, looking to food and pop culture entertainment for pleasure rather than the experience of life being its own source of pleasure. People wonder why they're overweight, addicted to something, always feeling a little bit depressed and dying of degenerative diseases before their time even though they have all the markers for success in a capitalist world. The answer is simple. They superimposed an artificial lifestyle over their true nature, now they're all messed up and don't know why. They go looking for solutions through the regular channels, psychology, psychiatry, the social sciences, new age gurus, the self-help industry, pop culture celebrities, TV talk shows, etc. But none of them work because the only solution is to know who you are away from everything you've ever been brainwashed by and live by it. Almost nobody reveals what's really in their hearts to other people, but I can tell that most people aren't really happy, enlightened and free just by looking at them. The natural course of life is to aspire to be vital and feel good all the time, to follow one's natural sense of inspiration to wherever it takes them, but most people don't do this. They play it safe. In grade school, they're told college is the path to the American dream, so they go then get a professional job only to realize it's dull. It's not who they really are the way they were born, but they pretend they got it going on and they're happy while their souls are dying inside. They betray themselves one day at a time by not releasing the natural energy that's inside of them every morning when they wake up. They release artificial energy in their jobs that's not inherent to who they are. That's why they end up looking like mundane, overweight, uninspired middle-aged people. Society can't help you because despite all its social sciences, mental health, new age, and self-help industries, none of them tell you that you're violating your true nature. To do so would be to admit that their way of life, how they're trying fragment the human condition down into a bunch of discrete parts, steps, strategies, stages, rules, tips, commandments, habits of effective people, is wrong, which would nullify their ability to make money offering to fix you. Religion can't solve your problem either. I don't care if you believe in God or not. Religion is a crutch that people use to cover over their true natures, which is why it fails many people. They try to fill themselves up with an external deity called God instead of following their true natures. That's why they're as depressed and miserable as the rest of the population. I don't down religion. I was raised a Catholic. I think it helps a lot of people by giving them a connection with other people when they go to church, but at your core, you still have your true nature, who you were born to be by instinct. You still have the same questions: who am I, what was I created for? Religious leaders tell you to honor God by trying to be like Him, but this negates your true self-centered, hedonistic nature. This is why a lot of supposedly religious people do bad, exploitative, evil things. They've been living by an artificial code not inherent to them, and sometimes it explodes in a big violent backlash. It's like Clockwork Orange. You can't change your primal nature. You can control it, but you can't change it. If people understood their true natures and lived by them, they would have much more control over themselves. I know who I really am. I know I'm self-centered like everybody else, and I know I like pleasure, so I pursue it. I follow my natural conscience, which tells me not to hurt or interfere with other people, animals, or the environment if they're not bothering me. Of course, I'd like to help everybody live a prosperous life of plenty, as all idealistic wishful thinkers want, but it ain't gonna happen, and I won't destroy my pursuit of a full life for me by following some naive, Pollyanna delusions of the people of the world united in brotherhood, holding hands singing "We Are the World" on a mountaintop, drinking Coca-Cola. If you want to be enlightened, you have to see human nature for what it is. It starts at self-centered and goes to either side, good or evil depending on the mood of the person. As a whole, people are much more exploitative and greedy than kind and loving. It's easy to prove. We have enough resources for every human being on the planet to live a basically comfortable life, but we have homeless people in our own communities. According to UNICEF, approximately 30,000 children die every day because they can't get enough food or basic medicines. People who got material wealth don't want to share it with other people even when they got much more than they could possibly ever use. Every TV commercial is telling you to get more stuff for yourself in order to be happy. They're not telling you to share the wealth. We think we're good, kind Christian people even when we live in houses bigger than we need and hoard all the junk we buy at the mall, then get depressed when our stock investments go down while somebody somewhere is starving. Be free and enlightened. It's your life. You shouldn't live by what other people say or do. If you got guts, you'll follow your own path. If you don't, you'll end up generic, mundane, brainwashed, probably overweight and passively comfortable with a vague sense of inner emptiness, wondering where have all the flowers gone from a long time ago when life was simpler and you were mellow. If you buy into life as presented in mainstream mass media culture, you're always tense because you always feel like you never quite measure up to those fake standards of happiness and success constantly marketed at you. You're most likely addicted to something like food, material goods, trendy clothes, shopping, booze, video games, celebrity gossip, romance novels, professional sports, status, money, own-upmanship thinking or pop culture entertainment to try to get a full, satisfied feeling, but it never works because all addictions stem from the same cause, an attempt to compensate for an empty soul. Everybody is looking for happiness now. The TV commercials and pop culture TV shows are geared to sell us something because that's how they make money, by enticing people to buy products, most of which they don't need. This capitalist marketing machine has implanted an idea into people that they can buy happiness in an instant. They just need to get a lot of money somehow, then buy a lot of material goods. This goes all the way from buying your favorite junk food to trendy clothes, big mansions, and expensive sports cars. The idea is all the same: I want to feel good right now. The problem is that material things cannot elevate your state of mind to a higher state of consciousness. You might think they do, but they're nothing next to expressing what's in your soul in terms of attaining a mood of well-being and transcendence. The capitalist pop culture mindset of glitz and glamour sets brainwashed people up for a lifestyle of work and spend. People get caught up in this cycle, then constantly want more things, so they work more to make more money to buy more things they don't need, but at the end of the day, your consciousness hasn't changed. You're still the same you, regardless of whether you're poor, live in basic comfort, or have extravagant luxury. The only way any individual can possibly live a transcendent life is to own enough material things so they have basic comfort and don't have to worry about poverty all the time. Then they have to spend their lives purging most of the natural potential energy that's inside of them every morning when they wake up. For me, there are 4 basic types of energy: inspired, creative, intellectual, physical, sensual, hedonistic, love and affection. Practical energy, what you must do to survive and live in basic comfort. If you want to be high on life, feel euphoric and transcendent every day, all you have to do is live life as a conquest of yourself. Self-conquest is self-mastery. You're always proud of yourself because you intuitively know you're doing the right things with your life that you were born to do, and you do them every day. You never slack off, go off the wagon, so to speak. You don't sit on your couch and either drink alcohol or eat junk food for days on end. It's okay to indulge here and there after you've worked hard on your inspired pursuits to unwind, but you never let yourself go to a couch potato, self-indulgent, passive consumer spectator lifestyle as many people do. Make anywhere from a good to a great effort to release most of that potential energy that was inside of you when you woke up to meet an inherent standard you should feel within yourself of who you want to be. Do this with love, joy, and intensity for the process, and within a year, you'll have loads of self-respect because you've been honoring who you were born to be by nature. Do this until you pass, and you'll always know within yourself that you're the hero of your own life. A line I got from Charles Dickens's novel David Copperfield, which struck me as so profound because I almost never see people who look like they're taking their lives for a great ride, enjoying the journey. You can tell by looking at people who's there and who isn't. Everybody fancies themselves as strong, noble-looking, healthy people in their ideal state, but we have a society that's 70% overweight with millions of people on mental health drugs. Excess weight represents disharmony and self-betrayal. It's the same with excessive material goods. There's something missing inside any person who surrounds themselves with an excess of useless consumer products, including clothes. Money and material goods beyond a basic level are actually detrimental because they turn us into a bunch of soft, passive consumer spectators more interested in absorbing other people's ideas than actively living our own lives. It's not about comfort. It's about getting a thrill through what you do. That's the great divide that separates great lives from average ones. Anything passive anyone does in the consumer spectator sense ultimately can't help them live a better, healthier or more transcendent life, yet loads of people try to fill themselves up with stuff from outside of themselves in the belief that these things will make them feel good and enhance their lives. If you don't purge the natural beauty and strength in your own free spirit, you have no quality of life that comes close to euphoria, transcendence, flowing beauty, or the peak experience. All the material stuff and symbols of status you surround yourself with mean nothing next to the extent to which you honor or neglect what's in your soul. An enlightened free spirit's purpose is to live an interesting, inspired, noble, euphoric, transcendent, hedonistic, free life following his or her true nature. If you got anything good inside of you, get it out. If you got anything bad inside of you, learn to control it. Your free spirit is good and evil. We're all sensual hedonists, at least in the privacy of our own minds. We're all self-centered by nature. It's the basic law of survival, self-preservation and the proliferation of the species. We all get angry and think violent thoughts when people get in our way and otherwise interfere with our lives. It's part of your true nature. Live it out without imposing it on people who don't want to deal with it. Acknowledge that it's a part of you but don't act on it. Everything else is yours to do with as you please. Anything is fair game in an enlightened free spirit's life as long as he or she doesn't impose it on people and animals who don't want to deal with it. By the universal law of free spiritism, you're free to do whatever you want either by yourself or with consenting adults as long as you don't interfere with the free lives of other living things, including animals and the environment. This is what a true, pure definition of freedom is. My right as a free being in the universe is to do what I want as long as I don't hurt or bother other living things. Our governments impose artificial rules on us that have nothing to do with morality or the safety of others. Your highest authority should be the sense of morality, freedom, and righteousness you were born with, given to you by your God. I follow what I feel within myself. My own conscience is stronger than society's rules. I don't follow the conventional wisdom of society if I feel it's not right. The term free spiritism gives off the impression of an undisciplined, wild, and free life, but it's not about that after you attain enlightenment. I was an aimless wandering bohemian as a young man, following my whims, trying to learn about life and how the world operates, so I tried a lot of things, some of which were stupid and dangerous. Going out into the world to experience new and novel things is a necessary part of life's journey because you have to see what's out there to your satisfaction in order to eventually realize that most of it means nothing to you. When I was young, I was curious. I thought that there was something out in the world that would take my life up a notch in the qualitative experience of it, so I went out looking, and at the end of it all, it was still me with the same consciousness I had when I started. Free spiritism without enlightenment will leave you aimless because you're always looking for something to fill you up in the moment, but you don't know what it is, so life is reduced to a series of meaningless experiences searching for an elusive sense of peace, transcendence, beauty, lightheartedness, fullness, satisfaction, euphoria, and perfection. You have to get to the point where you see that none of the experiences the world is trying to sell you can compete with the desires, lusts, beauty, musings, talents and inspiration within yourself that drive you towards your quest for happiness, fullness, and satisfaction. People are the same everywhere, some looking for the answers to life, some looking for adrenaline sensuous thrills, with most looking for more money, material things, entertainment, and comfort. Geography is the same everywhere. Every part of Earth has the sky above and the ground below. Some places have mountains, some have valleys, but it's like John Milton said, you can't be changed by place or time. Buildings are buildings. Museums contain a lot of useless old stuff that somebody deemed as important, but it's not important to me or the quality of my life. I didn't know this as a young man, so I was a well-intentioned clone, traveling around, going to museums, old buildings, and other tourist attractions looking for something. I still don't know exactly what I was looking for back then. I remember being on some can tour in London. They took us to some old church, I think it was Westminster Abbey, and said this is where Christopher Wren is buried. It still sticks out in my mind because at the time I thought it was so funny. Out of the blue, they were showing me some dead guy's mausoleum who I had never heard of before. This is supposed to be education and culture to make us more refined people. Refined for what? So I can dazzle people with my worldliness at cocktail parties? Why should I care? The absurdity of it all hit me. I was a sheeple following the flock. I've since realized that all that stuff did nothing to help me enhance my life. I had to go out, meet a lot of different people, see a lot of different places, buy a lot of consumer goods, and do a lot of different things before I finally realized that none of it means anything next to the power, beauty, love, and lust in my own free spirit. Enlightenment is to get past all the forces of the world trying to turn you into something you weren't born to be. You own 100% of your mind. For the lucky few people who find enlightenment, they realize they have their own unique, inherent individual standard of how they should live that's pure. It has not been indoctrinated by anything the world shows them or shoves in their face. Life is reduced to honoring this inner standard by purging one's natural energy day after day. Mind share is a concept I created for unenlightened people. How much of their minds do they own versus how much they have sold to the world marketing machine? Selling a portion of your mind is giving it away to some force that ultimately means nothing to your intrinsic free spirit. It could be anything like an obsession with status, capitalist ambition, being a sports fan, holy roller, celebrity worship, political party loyalty, government propaganda, psychobabble, the social sciences, trying to be cool and trendy, video games, fashion, etc. It's about what you feel is the right thing to do purely without brainwash and your efforts to do it. Everything else is the lies and delusions from the world. Almost nobody in modern society is pure. Happiness is intense exertion for fun. Paul Gauguin and Vincent van Gogh were two French 18th-century artists who tried to make a go of it as friends, but they couldn't because of ideological differences. Van Gogh believed in hard work and great effort in expressing himself. Gauguin said all art is a dreamy fantasy, so enjoy the process and don't take it so hard that it becomes a tedious venture. Each of these guys has a piece of what constitutes happiness. You have to sweat to purge the natural energy in your soul, but you have to do it with love for the process, ride the flow of your life like a surfer rides a wave. This is the only way to get into your groove every day. I don't care who you are or what delusion you're living by. Everybody lives by their own private delusion. It's no big deal. I know that when you wake up in the morning, you feel as mundane as I do. I solve it by doing a tough physical activity right away that puts me in my stride, earns me my self-respect, and makes me feel good all day long. I know that anyone who doesn't do something like this can't touch the transcendent lifestyle day after day, forever. It's the only way to get there. Purge a bunch of your natural energy such that you feel in your groove. You don't have to do physical activities, but you have to do something that's active as opposed just sitting there reading, eating, or watching a screen, and it has to be inspirational or stimulating. Doing tough, inspired activities is the only way any individual stays happy in the euphoric sense every day. It's the only way to honor your version of the human spirit, and this is what makes people like me happy, to feel like I'm living out who I was born to be. The challenge of life is to figure out your true identity and live by it. The world stage is just the background medium where you play out the real journey, discovering what's inside of you to the point of enlightenment, then having the guts to live by it. A lot of people never do this. Some people are brainwashed by society to pursue the standard career path, then when they're into their 40s and 50s they finally get the guts to break away from the brainwash of their youth. Most people in modern society are brainwashed as to what constitutes happiness and success, so they get caught up in the paper chase in grade school, go to college, get a job in some field they might or might not like, but chances are that their professional career is nowhere near the passions, beauty, lusts and nobility that reside in their free spirits. The irony of free spiritism is that you go out footloose and fancy-free like an untamed bohemian, trying to see what life has to offer, then, assuming you see and experience most of what you wanted without accidentally killing yourself or getting exploited by others, when you finally find enlightenment, you realize that all that footloose and fancy-free stuff you did taught you one thing only. It's like the Wizard of Oz. All that stuff out there is a smoke screen or a distraction next to what's in your heart and soul. The journey out into the world is necessary in order for you to see that it means nothing next to what is buried away deep within yourself. The world marketing machine has a vested interest in making everybody stuck on the traditional work ethic in exchange for access to loads of consumer goods and mindless entertainment. That's not a bad deal. Sell the natural potential of your soul for a steady job, good tasting junk, a big TV and some toys. The problem is that this stuff can never make you truly happy. The question of my life was, how do I live a great life every single day? I met some pretty cool people along the way, but not one of them could understand simply what exactly made them feel good day after day. By watching all of the happy people I met over a lifetime, I realized that the one constant they all had was that they did what they loved to do, that came from their true natures with gusto, passion, inspiration, and intensity day after day. It's a release of the natural energy in your soul or free spirit. The happiest people do this whether they realize it or not. There's no other way to be happy in the transcendent sense day after day. You have to keep purging your natural energy. People who claim to be happy but don't do this aren't happy. I'm talking happiness as a euphoric, transcendent feeling of beauty and ease, kinda like an artist who blows off his creative energy or a surfer riding a great wave. You're riding the flow of your life. You feel anywhere from good to great for having done it, and you keep doing it every day. A lot of people claim to be happy, but to me, what they have is mundane comfort, not happiness in the glorious, ecstatic sense of joy. They're feeling no physical pain, they have most of the creature comforts, they're well fed and they feel loved by someone. The only people who are truly happy in the euphoric sense of the human spirit are people who purge the natural energy in their souls by doing something intense that awakens one of the following feelings or sensibilities within themselves. It's tough to do. Inspired, sensuous, loving, stimulating, exciting, interesting, absorbed in the activity to the point of loss of self-consciousness, invigorating, exhilarating, creates euphoric sensations of ease and flow, creates a sense of freedom and adventure. Everybody I met in my life who's ever been truly happy did some inspired, aesthetic, bohemian, artistic, athletic, or just plain out tough activity day after day that made them feel great while they did it and gave them a sense of accomplishment, value, self-respect and well-being afterwards. A lot of people who have lots of money, status, friends, love, power, fame, religion, and good health are still not happy to the highest reaches of the human spirit. The only real constant to the higher reaches of happiness is to expend one's energy to the point where you feel freer and higher than normal consciousness. Some people call it soaring, in the flow, a peak experience, unconscious, etc. You can reach it every day if you're tapped into who you are. After this, financial security is good, to not have to worry about money all the time. Love is easy. Love whoever you're with. Love yourself, and if you need more, get a pet. They give much more love than most people do. Many people are stuck at love. They think they need a soulmate to be happy and are sad without one, so they waste their lives looking for someone who they think will change their lives and make them happy. But even if you find a soulmate, you're still a loner, spending most of every day alone in your head. You answer to yourself first. That's the way it is. The key to happiness is through what you do to honor who your God created you to be, not in your relationships with other people. That's an afterthought to your main business, which is to manifest the genetic seed you were born with to its full potential. The potential for the good to great feeling is inside of you through how you live day by day, not in some material thing, filling yourself up with pop culture entertainment, making some scene or even in hanging around with your friends because deep down you got an intuitive standard and a few archetypes of who you are. You either discover this and honor it by releasing most of this natural energy every day, or you don't. The world can be broken down into two groups: the people who follow themselves and purge that power inside of them all the time, and everybody else who follows the game of the world system or nothing at all. These are the real winners and losers of life. Are you living your life true and pure, or are you a brainwashed clone, following something somebody fed you with? If you find enlightenment, you realize you were, are, and always will be the same consciousness in your head. You stop being a consumer spectator. You don't have to go buying stuff or looking for something to entertain you to fill up your life. You don't have to watch the latest action movie or read some novel to get a thrill. The thrill should be in how you live day after day, but most people will never discover this, so they'll live trivial lives as eternal consumer spectators, always looking for something out there to fill them up for a minute or two. If you're enlightened and free, you know exactly what you were created to do, what natural power you have within yourself that you must use to maximize your pleasure and do something you love to do to help others in some way to earn a living. Free spiritism is simply honoring the God force or natural force within yourself. Be who you were born to be. That's it. That's the highest wisdom in the human condition.